Chapter 2398 was devastated. Everyone was surprised to find that white mist was rising from the top of Wu Yun. It really seemed to be smoking. Forget it. How can Wu Yun be smoking? I think it's going to rain. Shouldn't the rain be falling? How can it be rising? It's clearly smoking. Could it be that Wu Yun is not familiar with the business and it should be falling but it's going up? Wu Yun, who was already fuming with anger, heard everyone's discussion and was even angrier to the point of wanting to commit suicide. You fucking aren't familiar with the business and your entire family isn't familiar with it. You're really infuriating. Wu Yun couldn't do anything to the little girl at the bottom of the valley. He immediately vented his anger on the people who were speaking. He floated over and struck them until they cried for their parents. Only then did he regain some of his confidence. It seemed that it wasn't a scumbag. It was just that the little girl with the heavenly thunder spirit root was too perverted. Another 2 hours passed. Yun Chujio couldn't take it anymore and sneaked into the cave. Wu Yun couldn't hit Yun Chujio, so he vented his anger on the heavenly Dao cliff. But if he hadn't come to split the heavenly Dao cliff, he wouldn't have met that little pervert. He wouldn't have been struck so hard that he had nothing left to live for. He wouldn't have hacked the heavenly Dao cliff to death. Wu Yun's thoughts were pretty good, but the heavenly Dao cliff heavily added salt to his wound. The heavenly lightning struck by Wu Yun was blocked by the golden light of the heavenly Dao cliff. Furthermore, the heavenly Dao cliff began to chatter incessantly and mock Wu Yun. Hissy. You little scum, you still want to split me? I'm not moving here, you try splitting me. The heavenly Dao cliff had been eager to try for a long time. So what if I'm floating in the sky? It'll still infuriate you to death. Wu Yun felt that he might have forgotten to look at the almanac when he went out today. Otherwise, why would he encounter 3 perverts? He suddenly remembered something. Originally, he was not the one who came for this mission. Instead, number 6 Wu Yun had something urgent to attend to, so he had asked him to come. Could it be that that damn thing number 6 knew that there were perverts here, so he deliberately let it come looking for torture? The more Wu Yun thought about it, the more she felt that the possibility was very high, and she became even more furious. After Wu Yun figured out the twists and turns inside, she was no longer in the mood to continue splitting the heavenly Dao cliff. She floated away while emitting white smoke. When the heavenly Dao cliff saw that Wu Yun had drifted away, this fellow was still shouting, "Hey! Don't be in a hurry to leave. I haven't had enough fun yet." Wu Yun really couldn't take it anymore. It started to rain with a crashing sound. When it came to it, it was all tears. Wu Yun was heartbroken, but a certain Jiu was elated. TSK, even though she had only leveled up 2 levels, she was already at the first level of the spiritual void tier. Anyway, she was satisfied with the thunder she got. This guy was even thinking in his heart. Otherwise, when he wanted to level up in the future, he would deliberately let the heavenly Dao cliff do something wrong. Although it was still raining outside, Yun Chujio was afraid that someone would find out, so she asked the heavenly Dao cliff to get her on top. Then she sneaked back to the dormitory. After returning to the dormitory, she sent a message to Jin Ji and Shui Wuji, then happily took a bath. Lying on the bed, she began to plan the next learning arrangements. The most important thing now was to learn the spirit power phantom technique. As for alchemy, talismans, and beast taming, she could only learn some basic knowledge first. After all, she didn't know those instructors very well, so she didn't dare to reveal too many trump cards. After Yun Chujio made the plan, she sat cross-legged and began to meditate to consolidate her realm. The next day happened to be Sun Xiu's day. Yun Chujio felt that she should go to the Yi family to brush her face, and at the same time, look for Old Master Yi and Yi Bingyu to ask for a sound transmission talisman. Chapter 2399. Kill her first. After greeting Shui Wuji and Jin Ji, Yun Chujio went to the Hua Stone Academy to look for Yi Bingyu. Most of the students of the WA Stone Academy had only heard of Yun Chujio, but they had never seen her in person. Therefore, when Yun Chujio arrived at the entrance of the WA Stone Academy and reported her name to the guards of the academy, the eyes of the crowd immediately lit up with the light of gossip. Someone in the crowd said sourly, "You probably don't know, right? She is the new successor of the Yi family, Yun Chujio. Her mother used to be the daughter of the Yi family's concubine, but now she has become the daughter of the Yi family's first wife. She really got lucky." Yun Chujio turned her head and saw that the person who spoke was the Lu Jingwan she had met in the psychedelic forest. Yun Chujio could not help but frown. According to common sense, Lu Jinwan and Yi Bingyu were good friends, so they should not mock her like this. Could it be that she had taken the wrong medicine? Lu Jinwan saw that Yun Chujio did not say anything, so she thought that Yun Chujio did not dare to argue with her. She said even more harshly, I also heard that this Yun Chujio is some favored child of the Tian Dao. Bah. She really flattered herself. Shameless. Yun Chujio's expression was indifferent, but she still did not say anything. Lu Jinwan thought that Yun Chujio was a soft persimmon, so she curled her lips and said, what kind of mother has what kind of daughter? I heard that Yi Lan was expelled from the Yi family. Mother's useless daughter is even more useless. Before Lu Jinluan's voice faded, Yun Chujio jumped in front of her, stared at her coldly and said, apologize immediately, or I'll make you kneel down and apologize. Lu Jinwan sneered. Are you crazy? I'll apologize to you? Even if you fly to the top, you're still a sparrow that can't be put on the stage. Do you really think the Yi family will stand up for you and cause trouble for our Lu family? Hearing Lu Jinluan's words, Yun Chujio's heart moved. No wonder Lu Jinwan was so against her. Her aunt Lu Shi was a member of the Lu family. She should be Lu Jinluan's aunt. Yun Chujio's sudden attack was as fast as lightning. Lu Jinluan's spiritual power was lower than Yun Chujio's, and she was unprepared. Yun Chujio grabbed her throat. Yun Chujio turned behind Lu Jinwan, took out a big kitchen knife that was necessary for scamming people and forced Lu Jinluan's neck. Then she kicked Lu Jinluan's leg and Lu Jinwan knelt on the ground. Lu Jinwan, you can apologize now. Lu Jinluan's mind was blank. He didn't know what happened. In a flash, she was made to kneel on the ground by Yun Chujio. You let go of me. Otherwise, I won't forgive you. Won't forgive me. You publicly insulted my mother and me. Even if I kill you, your Lu family won't have the face to ask for an explanation from our Yi family. Because your Lu family's daughter doesn't have any upbringing. Lu Jinwan, if you don't want to be killed by me, then obediently apologize to me. Yun Chujio said with a sneer. Don't even think about it. If you kill me, you won't live either. You're just a little bastard who inherited the Yi family. Do you really think that the Yi family takes you seriously? Lu Jinwan said fearlessly. Is that so? Then I'll kill you today to have some fun. As Yun Chujio said that, she exerted more force and a wound appeared on Lu Jinluan's fair neck and fresh blood flowed down. Lu Jinwan immediately panicked and said in a panic, Yun Chujio, the students of Xingtian Academy and Huosher Academy are forbidden to fight. If you really kill me, you'll be punished by the city rules. Yun Chujio curled the corners of her mouth. It was you who provoked me first. If you want to be punished, well, suffer together. I don't care. Anyway, I'll kill you first. Chapter 2400 also had the potential of a Black Lotus. Lu Pinyin received the news and rushed over. When he saw that Lu Jinwan was controlled by Yun Chujio and there was blood on her neck. Immediately he became angry from embarrassment. Yun Chujio quickly released Jinwan. Otherwise I won't be polite. If she apologizes, I'll release her. Otherwise, even if the Heavenly King comes, it's useless. Yun Chujio said coldly and arrogantly. It was fine to scold her, but she actually dared to scold Yi Lan. He was simply courting death. Lu Pinyin was afraid of the consequences. He was so angry that his face turned ashen. He took out his identity jade token and sent a message to Yi Bingyu. Not long after, Yi Bingyu walked out of the WA Stone Academy. Lu Pinyin hurriedly said, Bingyu, quickly tell Yun Chujio to let go of Jinwan. Yi Bingyu ignored Lu Pinyin. Instead, she ran to Yun Chujio's side enthusiastically and said excitedly, I knew you, this evildoer, wouldn't die. This is great. Let's go back to the Yi family together later. Of course. A scourge lives for 10,000 years. Give me a voice transmission talisman later in case I can't find you and have to come over to find you. Okay. I wanted to give it to you last time, but I forgot. Lu Shi and his sister were so angry that they wanted to vomit blood. Could you let her go first before chatting? Don't you think it's inappropriate to chat like this? Lu Jinwan was so angry that she gritted her teeth. No wonder Yi Bingyu had been treating her coldly during this period of time. She originally thought that she was arrogant, but she didn't expect that she would be so good friends with Yun Chujio. It was really detestable. Although Lu Jinluan's heart was filled with hatred, she still pleaded, Bingyu, quickly let Yun Chujio let me go. Yi Bingyu seemed to have just seen Lu Jinwan. She said in surprise, Little Jiu, are you sparring with Lu Jinwan? At this moment, Yun Chujio finally confirmed that Yi Bingyu and her had the blood of the Yi family. It turned out that this guy also had the potential to be a Black Lotus. Lu Jinwan was so angry that she almost passed out. She gritted her teeth and said, "What's sparring? Yun Chujio wants to kill me." Oh. The Lu siblings waited for a long time, but Yi Bingyu didn't say anything else. Lu Pinyin could no longer maintain his usual elegance and said sinisterly, "Yun Chujio, quickly release Jinwan, or I will report to the city lord of Tianluo City." Yun Chujio shrugged her shoulders. "As you wish. Anyway, Lu Jinluan's head will fall to the ground before the city lord sends his men." "What do you want?" Lu Pinyin clenched his fists. He didn't dare to gamble. He was afraid that Yun Chujio would really kill Lu Jinwan. "Apologize. Apologize to my mother and me. Just say that her mouth is like a dog that can't spit out ivory. She is jealous of my mother and my peerless magnificence. She is jealous of our amazing talent, so she slandered us. She is a shameless, flirtatious slut." Yun Chujio said slowly. "You don't go too far." Lu Jinluan's eyes were red. If she really said these words, she wouldn't have the face to face others in the future. Lu Pinyin tried his best to suppress the killing intent in his heart. "The first words are fine, but can you not say the last sentence?" "Tisi, the most outstanding thing is the last sentence." The coquettish slut was simply tailor-made for a little bitch like Lu Jinwan. However, a dog can bite a human, but a human cannot bite a dog. How about this? 1,000,000 high-grade spirit stones per word. If you agree, you pay. If you don't agree, Tiskei, then tell me word by word. 1,000,000 high-grade spirit stones per word? Heavens, this Yun Chuju was too evil. Some students began counting with their fingers. She's just a shameless, flirtatious bitch. Damn, there were 12 words in total. This was 12,000,000 high-grade spirit stones. How could Lu Pinyin bear to do so? Chapter 2401. City Lord Lu Pinyin was silent for a moment, then he gritted his teeth and said, "Okay, I agree." He knew that if Lu Jinwan said that, then Lu Jinwan would never be able to raise her head in this lifetime. Whether it was from the family or from the face of the Lu family, this sentence must not be said. After Yun Chujio received the spirit stones, she said indifferently, "You can skip that sentence. Just say the rest of the sentence, not a single word less." Lu Jinwan bit her lips until they were bleeding. She wished she could find a hole and hide in it. She clenched her teeth and told Yun Chujio what she had said. Yun Chujio curled the corners of her lips and released Lu Jinwan. Then she said coldly, "If I hear anyone say bad things about my mother again, Lu Jinwan will be a good example." Everyone looked at each other. Yun Chujio had left a shadow in the hearts of the students of the WA Stone Academy. This guy was not only cruel and merciless but also greedy. It was better to not provoke her. Of course, there were also some people who did not think much of it. They felt that Lu Jinwan was just careless. Lu Jinwan looked at Yun Chujio with her red eyes and said viciously, "Yun Chujio, I Lu Jinwan will fight to the death with you. Just you wait." Yun Chujio shrugged her shoulders indifferently. "There are many people who will fight to the death with me. Who do you think you are? Go queue up at the back. Everyone." This fellow was too arrogant. Although she was the first daughter of the Yi family, what right did she have to be so arrogant? Could it be that she was the favored child of Tian Dao? Lu Jinwan wanted to say more, but Lu Pinyin gave her a signal with his eyes. The two of them turned around and entered the WA Stone Academy. Yun Chujio didn't even look at them. She said to Yi Bingyu, "Sister Bingyu, I have something that I need your help with." Yi Bingyu was stunned for a moment before she understood. Little Jio was probably afraid that the Lu family would take revenge and wanted her to help explain things to her great-grandfather. Then she heard Yun Chujio say with a smile, "I heard that the food in the dining hall of the Rock Academy is pretty good. Can you go in and buy some for me?" Yi Bingyu. Could she distance herself from this glutton right now? Could she say that she didn't know this good for nothing? The students of the Shi Academy were also confused. Wasn't this scene changing too quickly? Just a moment ago she was still a vicious and merciless female devil. How did she become a glutton in such a short time? Yi Bingyu said with disappointment, "Let's go back to the Yi family first. When we come back, I'll buy it for you. By the way, where's Brother Wenhong? Isn't he going back with us?" Yun Chujio asked. Brother Wenhong said that he's going to make a breakthrough soon, so he has to hurry up and cultivate, Yi Bingyu explained. Yun Chujio raised her eyebrows. Cultivation was probably secondary. The main reason was that he didn't want to face the Gushur and Lushur. It was indeed a terrible thing to face his mother and grandmother who didn't have a good outlook on life. Just as Yun Chujio and Yi Bingyu were about to leave the city and return to the Yi family, a team of guards walked over. "Miss Yun, the city lord has invited you." Yi Bingyu was suddenly shocked. She asked in surprise. Although there was an argument just now, both parties did not make any requests. Why did the city lord summon little Jiao? The 10 guards of the Yi family that Yun Chujio had previously recruited squeezed out from the crowd and blocked in front of Yun Chujio and Yi Bingyu, acting as if they were protecting their master. The reason why they didn't make a move just now was because Yun Chujio had the upper hand. Now that they saw that the city lord's mansion wanted to arrest someone, they naturally wouldn't sit idly by. A guard from the city lord's mansion smiled and said, "The 2 young ladies might have misunderstood. My city lord didn't do it because of the dispute just now. He just wanted to invite Miss Yun to have a cup of tea." Chapter 2402 Mayor Huang drinking tea? Everyone present was shocked. Up until now, Mayor Huang of Tianluo City had only invited 2 people to drink tea. One was Dean Gong Sun of Xingtian Academy, and the other was Dean Duanmu of Huoshi Academy. Mayor Huang had always lived in seclusion. Many people in Tianluo City had never seen him before. Why did he invite Yun Chujio to drink tea? Yi Bingyu nervously tugged at Yun Chujio's sleeve, indicating that she should not go. No matter how she looked at it, this matter seemed strange. It would be strange if something good happened. Yun Chujio smiled and said to the guard of the mayor's mansion, "The mayor invited you, but it's impolite. Let's go." Yi Bingyu glared at Yun Chujio. "I'll go too." The guard of the mayor's mansion said respectfully but distantly, "Miss Yi, the mayor only invited Miss Yun. Please forgive me." Although Yi Bingyu was arrogant, she did not dare to clash with the guard of the city lord's mansion. She could only clench her teeth and say, "Little Jiao, then I'll bring your guard and wait for you outside the city lord's mansion. This is my voice transmission talisman." Yi Bingyu said and handed a voice transmission talisman to Yun Chujio. The meaning was very obvious. This was to tell the guard that if they wanted to harm Yun Chujio, she would immediately get the news. The guard just smiled and made a hand gesture. "Miss Yun, please." Yun Chujio nodded and strolled away with the guards of the mayor's residence. Yi Bingyu was so angry that she gritted her teeth. What a heartless person. Do you know what kind of place the mayor's residence is? He actually followed her. Yun Chujio followed the guards of the mayor's residence all the way, pondering the purpose of Mayor Huang looking for her. No matter how big or small a city was in the immortal Yuan continent, there would always be city lords. These city lords were all from the Sky-Bearing Alliance. The Sky-Bearing Alliance was basically equivalent to the imperial court in the secular world. These city lords were also equivalent to officials of different sizes. However, the strong were the most respected in the immortal Yuan continent, so these city lords could only restrict the ordinary people. As for the big families or sects, they held the principle of not meddling in each other's affairs. They basically played their own games and gave each other face. However, there were exceptions. Some city lords, due to their superior spiritual power and the power of their subordinates, basically became the local emperors in the cities under their jurisdiction. The clans living in the cities also had to give some face. The city lord of Tianluo City was such an exception. According to common sense, Xingtian Academy and Huoshi Academy were equivalent to the strength of first-class clans or sects, but they did not dare to go against Mayor Huang. The students inside had to abide by the rules of Tianluo City. There was once a student from a first-class family who did not believe in evil and openly violated the rules of Tianluo City by killing a commoner. He originally thought that Mayor Huang would not dare to do anything to him, but he did not expect Mayor Huang to directly order the student to be killed. For a moment, the public opinion was in an uproar. Everyone thought that Mayor Huang had stirred up a hornet's nest, and that the student's family would definitely not spare him. However, everything had been peaceful. The student's family only took the student's body back and nothing else happened. Ever since that incident, no one dared to violate the rules of Tianluo City. Mayor Huang's position in everyone's heart was almost the same as that of the local emperor. After Yun Chujio recalled the information about Mayor Huang, she still could not figure out why Mayor Huang wanted to meet her. Could it be that he had taken a liking to her beauty? Ahem, brother guard, may I ask if Mayor Huang has taken a wife? The guards of the mayor's residence. Chapter 2403. I heard that you stole a spirit stone mine? The leading guard coughed dryly. We are not very clear about the city lord's personal matters. Yun Chujio raised her eyebrows. This diplomatic language was quite skillful. However, there was a high chance that Mayor Huang did not have a woman by his side. Otherwise, they would not have said that they were not very clear. Could it be that he really had his eyes set on her beauty? Damn it, I am a gigolo. If he dares to have his eyes on me, I will castrate him. In his mind, this guy immediately made up and directed a big drama about snatching civilian women. Before the big drama ended, they had arrived at the mayor's mansion. Yun Chujio had never been to the street of the mayor's mansion before. When she saw the mayor's mansion, two words flashed through Yun Chujio's mind: rich. This mansion was extremely luxurious. The only thing missing was the word rich written on the plaque at the entrance. However, it was also true. The mayor's mansion had to collect protection fees. All the businesses in Tianluo City had to pay taxes. Moreover, there might be other businesses. However, this Mayor Huang was very ostentatious. If he had money, he could just keep it to himself. He had actually put it out in the open. She really did not know whether this Mayor Huang was arrogant or fearless. Yun Chujio followed the leading guard into the meeting room of the mayor's residence. An old man with gleaming eyes sat on the main seat. Yun Chujio bowed to him as a junior. This junior Yun Chujio greets Mayor Huang. The old man stroked his beard and sized up Yun Chujio several hundred times. He did not say a word. Thank you, Mayor Huang, for giving me a seat. As Yun Chujio spoke, she sat on a chair next to her. Mayor Huang. Did he say that he was going to give her a seat? It didn't seem like he did. Could it be that this little girl's ears weren't working properly? Mayor Huang didn't say anything for a long time again. He continued to size up Yun Chujio with an inquisitive look. Thank you, Mayor Huang, for the tea. Yun Chujio began to drink the tea by herself. It was sizzling very contentedly. Just now, when she was tidying up Lu Jingwan, she happened to be thirsty. Mayor Huang was indeed a nouveau riche. The taste of the tea was really not bad. Mayor Huang. He finally understood that this little girl was not deaf but shameless. Mayor Huang suddenly burst into laughter and Yun Chujio almost spat out the tea in her mouth. Damn, was this Mayor Huang sick? Mayor Huang laughed for a long time before saying, Little girl, no wonder you are so bold to swallow half of the Fan family's spirit stone mine. You're really thick-skinned. Yun Chujio's heart trembled. Oh my god, how did this damn rich old man know about the Fan family's spirit stone mine? Yun Chujio calmed herself down. After taking a sip of tea, she said with a smile, Mayor Huang really likes to joke. Didn't the Chow family take away the Fan family's spirit stone mine? How could a weak little girl like me do such an earth-shattering thing? Besides, I've always been taking classes at Xingtian Academy. How could I possibly go to the Fan family tens of thousands of miles away? Mayor Huang clicked his tongue and said, This little girl is indeed thick-skinned. To think that she can lie so smoothly. This is really an eye-opener for me. However, since I dare to say this, it means that I have enough evidence. The back mountain of the Fan family was intruded by a man and two women. Then the three of them were sent to the Fan family's spirit stone mine by Fan Mingchuan. The three of them entered the mine's canteen to work as odd job workers. One of the little girls instigated those odd job workers to defect. The little girl then gave the miners an idea, asking them to bring the ores that had been mined to the Chow family. Meanwhile, she herself took away half of the Fan family's mine and fled. Now the Fan family and the Chow family are at loggerheads and the culprit is sitting here drinking tea. TSK, what a good plan. Chapter 2404. It was easy to invite the gods, but difficult to send them off. Although Yun Chujio's heart was in turmoil, she praised, Mayor Huang's imagination is really admirable. Is there such a smart little girl in the world as you say? This is simply not human. She is almost becoming a spirit. Mayor Huang. He originally thought that he already had a certain understanding of Yun Chujio's thick skin, but now he felt that he had still underestimated the extent of a certain Jio's shamelessness. People were shameless to this extent and could only be said to be talented, absolutely talented. Little girl, since I said this, I naturally have conclusive evidence. You don't have to be afraid, I don't have any other intentions. It's just that spirit ores need to be processed to turn into spirit stones. I just want to cooperate with you on the matter of processing spirit ores. Mayor Huang, although I can't bear to, I still have to say, have you not been resting well recently? I'm such a delicate and weak little girl. How could I possibly be the little girl who swallowed half of the Fan family's mine? Although I don't know what evidence you're talking about, I have enough evidence to prove that I've always been in Xingtian Academy. Therefore you must have mistaken me for someone else. Yun Chujio sneered in her heart. No matter what you said, she just wouldn't admit it. She felt that Mayor Huang only had a small piece of evidence. He was trying to trick her. No matter how powerful he was, how could he trace it back to the cliff of Tiandao? Dream on. Mayor Huang's initial 80% suspicion had now turned into absolute certainty. Although there was no concrete evidence to prove that it was Yun Chujio who did it, it was extraordinary that a little girl could be so calm in front of him. If Yun Chujio's identity was ordinary, Mayor Huang would definitely use some means to force Yun Chujio to admit it. However, Yun Chujio was the first daughter of the Yi family. Although he was not afraid of the Yi family, he did not want to cause unnecessary trouble. Anyway, there was still a long way to go. This little girl would reveal herself sooner or later. Mayor Huang thought of this and laughed out loud. Forget it, I might have really mistook you for someone else. I have met your great-grandfather once and we can be considered old friends. If you encounter any difficulties in the future, you can come to me anytime. Then thank you, Mayor Huang. Great-grandfather had indeed told me about you before. He said that you were the most generous, especially to a junior. Even the first gift you gave was an immortal artifact. Mayor Huang, I wonder if it's true? Yun Chujio put down the teacup. She asked with a smile. Mayor Huang, should he say yes or should he say no? Immortal item. This little girl's heart was really dark. No wonder she could swallow half of the Fan clan's spirit stone mine. She was simply a Pai Xiu who could only enter but not leave. Mayor Huang did not say anything for a while. Yun Chujio picked up the teacup and slowly drank the tea. Her little heart had suffered a shock. If she did not extort an immortal item from him, she would be letting down her conscience. The two of them seemed to be competing in patience. After a full hour, neither of them said anything. Yun Chujio was not in a hurry either. An hour was not enough to buy a loss, and neither was it enough to buy a trap. She would just have to endure it. If she could get her hands on an immortal item, not to mention an hour, even half a month would be worth it. Mayor Huang originally wanted to leave Yun Chujio there, and then let her take the initiative to take her leave. Who would have thought that the little girl did not know what it meant to be embarrassed? She was even more at home than in his own house. Mayor Huang deeply understood a sentence. It was easy to invite the gods but difficult to send them off. There was also a sentence, throw a rock at your own feet. Chapter 2405. Great-grandfather Huang. Just as Mayor Huang was at a loss as to what to do, he heard Yun Chujio sigh. Mayor Huang, forget it. Actually, your generosity has nothing to do with me. I'm just a junior. I'll take my leave now. Mayor Huang was delighted. It seemed that this little girl couldn't take it anymore. At this moment, he heard Yun Chujio continue, I'll go back to the Yi family in a while. I'll tell great-grandfather that he's not good at judging people. Some people, no matter how gorgeous the mansion is, no matter how famous they are, tsk, they still don't live up to their name. Oh right, my great-grandfather also said that he would hold a birthday banquet for me on my birthday. At that time he would invite many famous people. I have one biggest flaw, and that is that I don't have a good mouth. Who knows, I might say something that I shouldn't say. Just thinking about it is very interesting. Interesting, your big head ghost. Mayor Huang loved face the most. Otherwise he wouldn't have made the mansion so extravagant. Mayor Huang gritted his teeth and used his spiritual sense to search through his storage ring. He was reluctant to part with this and that. In the end he found something in the corner and his eyes couldn't help but light up. Little girl, I was just teasing you. This is our first meeting, how can I let you return empty-handed? What is an immortal weapon? I will give you a divine weapon. Don't look at this as a fragment, but this is a fragment of a divine weapon, the Great Void Mirror. In the future, if you collect all the fragments, you will have a divine weapon. A divine weapon is something that grows naturally. As far as I know, no one in this world has a divine weapon. When that time comes, you will be the #1 person in the immortal Yuan continent. Mayor Huang held a fragment in his hand and smiled like a wolf with a big tail. Although Yun Chujio was secretly happy, she had a look of disdain on her face. Mayor Huang, this is only a fragment. When will I be able to collect the Great Void Mirror? You better give me another one. Sigh, you little girl really don't know what's good for you. Other things are not as good as this. The elder will not refuse. Hurry up and take it. Mayor Huang stuffed the fragment into Yun Chujie's hands. He was very pleased with himself. This way. No one could find fault with him. That was a divine artifact. Yun Chujie pursed her lips. Alright, if that's the case, then thank you very much, Great-Grandfather Huang. Great-Grandfather Huang, today we can be considered to be relatives. In the future you can't just leave little Jiu alone if I have any trouble. For example, if I don't like someone and beat someone up, you have to protect me a little. Mayor Huang, great-grandfather? Relatives? What does that have to do with anything? When did he say that he wanted to take her in as his great-granddaughter? Great-grandfather Huang, why didn't you say anything? Could it be that there are still matters in Tianluo City that you can't solve? And just beating up a few people and you're already in a difficult position? Didn't they say that you're the most dignified and capable among all the city lords in the Immortal Essence continent? Yun Chujie blinked her eyes. She looked at Mayor Huang with a face full of suspicion. Of course. This Tianluo City is under my control. If you want to beat people up, just beat them up. I'll take care of everything for you. It was a matter of face. Mayor Huang did not have the time to think about his great-grandfather anymore. All he needed to do was to pat his chest and prove himself. Thank you, great-grandfather Huang. Little Jiu will take her leave now. Little Jiu will come to see you again when she has time. All right. Mayor Huang waved his hand, indicating that Yun Chujie could take her leave now. After a full quarter of an hour, Mayor Huang finally realized that something was wrong. He was the one who had asked Yun Chujie to interrogate him about the spirit stone mine of the Fan family. How did he manage to get it? Not only did he lose a fragment of the divine weapon, he even turned it into the little girl's protective umbrella. Chapter 2406. Think of a way to kill her. Mayor Huang thought about it carefully. It seemed that everything started when he mentioned Old Master Yi. That little girl first asked him for a greeting gift, and after extorting a fragment of the Great Void Mirror from him, she took the opportunity to call him Great-Grandfather Huang. After that, she made him wear a high hat and he was tricked into becoming her protective umbrella. The more Mayor Huang thought about it, the more aggrieved he felt. He was the Grand Mayor of Heavenly Luo City, yet he was tricked by a little girl. It was a great humiliation. No, he must find a chance to get back at her next time. Yun Chujie naturally did not know the resentment in Mayor Huang's heart. Of course, it did not matter even if this guy knew. After all, she had obtained the fragment of the Great Void Mirror. This fellow counted with his fingers. She already had 7 fragments of the Great Void Mirror. As long as she found another one, the repair of the Great Void Mirror would be completed. At that time, she would become the only person in the Immortal Yuan continent who possessed a divine artifact. Just thinking about it was awesome. Although this fellow could not wait to fuse the fragment of the Great Void Mirror with the Great Void Mirror, it was not the time yet. He could only wait until he returned from the Yi family. Yun Chujie hopped to the entrance of the mayor's residence. Yi Bingyu and the 10 guards were waiting anxiously. Little Jiu, Mayor Huang didn't make things difficult for you, right? Yi Bingyu asked nervously. Yun Chujie smiled and shook her head. Why would great-grandfather Huang make things difficult for me? He even asked me to come to the mayor's residence more often in the future. Yi Bingyu, what the hell was great-grandfather Huang? Where did he come from? Could it be that Mayor Huang was the long-lost brother of great-grandfather? Even after the two of them left the city and got on the flying spirit tool, Yi Bingyu still couldn't figure out how this great-grandfather Huang came about. Yun Chujie naturally wouldn't tell her in detail. After all, it involved the Fan family's mine. She only said that Mayor Huang saw that she was smart, so he decided to protect her in the future. Although Yi Bingyu felt that the matter was somewhat strange, she felt that it was normal for anything to happen to this pervert, so she did not continue to ask. 4 hours later, the flying spirit tool arrived at the Yi family. Old Master Yi felt that it was fortunate that his old heart was still healthy. Otherwise, this great-granddaughter would be dead and alive. She would definitely suffer from illness. Old Master Yi naturally made some inquiries and asked housekeeper Fu to arrange a welcoming banquet at the dining hall. After Yun Chujie came out of Old Master Yi's study, she went straight to Xiaohua Garden. 4 maids and 2 old ladies were waiting at the entrance of the courtyard, looking very respectful. Yun Chujie waved her hand and entered the courtyard. There were no changes in the courtyard or the house, and the house was very clean. The news of Yun Chujia's safe return naturally reached the ears of Gushur, Lushur, and the others, especially Lushur. She even received a voice transmission talisman from her big brother, which recounted the story of how Yun Chujio extorted money from Lu Jinwan. Lushur was so angry that she gnashed her teeth. Yi Bingying, who was at the side, said coldly, "Mother, we can't let Yun Chujio live. You must think of a way to kill her." Lushur sighed. Why wouldn't mother want to kill her? However, the person that Xingtian Academy arranged was so unlucky that he was struck by lightning. He felt that this was a warning from the heavens. No matter what, he wouldn't dare to harm that little bastard. What nonsense. Mother, then should we just let it go? Not only did she humiliate me, but she also humiliated Jin Luan. Are we just going to let her be arrogant like this? If she was allowed to continue like this, I think maybe the second branch will ride on top of our big branch. Yi Bingying said with a sneer. Chapter 2407. Yi Xinwan and Fan Sushue. When Lushur heard Yi Bingying's words, she said coldly, "Humph. The second wife is simply dreaming. How dare a destitute family who doesn't have a son fight for the position of the family head?" Mother, although that's what you said, great-grandfather and grandfather both like that Yun Chuju very much. Who knows, they might come up with something. Besides, it's not like second aunt can't give birth. Who knows, it might happen one day. Yi Bingyu knew that the position of family head was Lu Shur's Achilles heel. That was why she said that. Sure enough, Lu Shur's expression became even colder. After a moment of silence, the corners of her mouth curled up into a cold smile. Bingying, mother has thought of a good idea. A few days ago, I heard from your grandmother that your aunt is going to bring Su Shui back to stay for a few days. She should be able to arrive today or tomorrow. At that time, you should think of a way to make Su Shui and that little bastard have a conflict. Your aunt has always hated that bastard's mother. When that time comes, your aunt will take care of that little bastard without us having to do anything. Although your aunt's surname is Yi, she is now a member of the Fan family. Even if they kill that little bastard, your grandfather and great-grandfather would not dare to say anything. Yi Bingying's eyes lit up as she said excitedly, "Mother, you're really amazing. This method is great. You can kill that little bastard without being able to trace it back to us. This is really great. However, Mother, I heard that the Fan family and the Chow family are currently in a fierce fight. Why did Aunt bring Su Shui back at this time? I reckon that they can't help much even if they were there, so they might as well come back and hide in peace," Lu Shur guessed. Just as the mother and daughter were talking, a maid rushed in. "First Madam, eldest Miss, Great Aunt and Miss Su Shui have arrived." Lu Shur and her daughter looked at each other. They had arrived at just the right time. The two of them changed their clothes and hurried to the living room. Logically speaking, Yi Xinwan was just a married girl returning to her parents' house to visit her relatives. Old Master Yi and the others did not need to come to the living room to see her. However, the Fan family was a super aristocratic family, while the Yi family was only a first-class aristocratic family. In terms of status, the Yi family really did not dare to neglect Yi Xinwan. Thus, Old Master Yi Yuanliang and the others all went to the living room. Gushur and the others did not need to say anything and also all arrived. After Min Shi arrived, she realized that Yun Chujio had not arrived. Her heart moved. It was likely that Gushur and Lu Shi deliberately did not inform little Jio. The Min Shi said to Yi Bingyu in a low voice, "Send a message to little Jio and tell her to hurry over. Otherwise, it won't be good for your aunt to pick a fight." When Yi Bingyu heard this, she quickly sent a message to Yun Chujio to inform her that Yi Xinwan had brought Fan Sushue. Over here there was naturally a lot of small talk in the meeting hall. Yi Xinwan's demeanor as the madam of a super aristocratic family was well presented. Fan Sushue was even more arrogant. She even gave a perfunctory salute to her elders. She was unwilling to come to the Yi family. The people she usually interacted with were the direct daughters of super aristocratic families, so she did not care about the people of the Yi family at all. Gushur's triangular eyes were filled with smiles. These days she could be said to be full of grievances. Now that she finally had someone to support her, she was naturally in a very good mood. Although Old Master Yi did not really like Yi Xinwan as his granddaughter, the situation was stronger than the others. The Fan family was much stronger than the Yi family, so he could only say some polite words perfunctorily. Yi Xinwan swept her gaze over and then said, I heard that the Yi family has another first-wife daughter. She's really putting on a big front. Even when her biological aunt is back, she actually doesn't come over to pay her respects. Chapter 2408 Yi Xinwen's residence. Yi Bingyu quickly explained. Aunt, little Jiu might not know that you're back. I've just sent a message to her. She should be coming over soon. Bingyu, where are your rules? How can you interrupt when the elders are speaking? Yi Xinwan glanced at Yi Bingyu unhappily. She had never liked the wooden Yi Xiong. She didn't even like the people from the second branch. Now that Yun Chujiu was involved, she naturally disliked the second branch even more. Yi Bingjia's face was flushed red. If it wasn't for the fact that she was used to being beaten by Yun Chujiu, she would definitely go berserk. Min Shi grabbed Yi Bingjia's hand and signaled her not to say anything. Yi Bingyu could only blush and not say anything. Gu Shi's heart was extremely comfortable. Her own daughter was still the most considerate. Once she returned, she would help her vent her anger. When that little bastard came in a while, she would suffer. Old Master Yi narrowed his eyes. He was such a shrewd person, so he naturally understood everyone's plans. He hoped that little ninth girl would not be too willful. Otherwise, he would really not be able to openly fall out with Yi Xinwan, even if he was an elder. Great-grandfather Yi had already made a plan in his heart. If little Jiu was wronged, he would find an opportunity to compensate her in the future. He could not lose the greater good for the lesser good. Although everyone continued to chat and laugh, they all had their own thoughts and were all waiting for Yun Chujiu's arrival. 15 minutes passed, but Yun Chujiu did not come. An hour passed, but Yun Chujiu still did not come. Fan Sushue was impatient. Mom, we have been sitting in the flying spirit tool for such a long time. I want to wash up. Lu Shi quickly said from the side. Xinwan, Sushue is right. You should go to the guest room to rest first. We will have a good chat when we have time in the future. Although Yi Xinwan wanted to teach Yun Chujiu a lesson, she still felt sorry for her daughter, so she said, all right, then we will go and wash up first. By the way, these things are a little gift from us. Yi Xinwan gave the gifts to everyone. In order to show that she was favored in the Fan family, the gifts that Yi Xinwan brought were naturally very valuable, so everyone was very happy. Lu Shi and Yi Bingying accompanied Yi Xinwan and her daughter to the guest house. On the way, Yi Bingying seemed to say to Fan Sushue unintentionally, Sister Sushue, if it was before, I would have vacated Xiaohua Garden for you and Aunt to live in. Unfortunately, Xiaohua Garden has changed owners now, so I can't make the decision. Fan Sukshi's impression of Yi Bingying was passable. Hearing her words, she asked, change owners? Isn't Xiaohua Garden your yard? Yi Bingying smiled bitterly. It used to be my yard, but ever since Yun Chujiu came, Xiaohua Garden has become hers. Even though she only came back to live for 3 days every 2 to 3 months, great-grandfather still asked me to give Xiaohua Garden to her. Yi Xinwen's expression was gloomy. She recalled some of the past events. Back then, Yilan had been in the limelight. The courtyard of a concubine's daughter was even better than the courtyard of a legitimate daughter like her. She then recalled the letter she wrote from Gu Shi. That little bastard actually used a knife to force Gu Shi. This was simply outrageous. The more Yi Xinwan thought about it, the angrier she became. She said to Lu Shi, sister-in-law, we're not going to stay in any guest house anymore. Let's just stay in Xiaohua Garden. Lu Shi's heart was filled with joy, but on the surface she said with some embarrassment, all right. Anyway, little Jiu will be back to the academy after staying for 2 days. Let's go there directly. I'll let her stay in the guest house. Lu Shi could have sent a letter to Yun Chujiu first, but she had to bring Yi Xinwan and Fan Sushue there directly just to make the conflict escalate. It would be best if Yi Xinwan killed that little bastard directly. Chapter 2409. A certain Jiu squatting on the roof. Lu Shi and the others arrived at the entrance of Xiaohua Garden's courtyard. It was quiet inside and not a single maid came out. Yi Bingying knocked on the door and shouted, Yun Chujiu, Aunt Xinwan is here. Why aren't you coming out to greet her? Yi Bingying shouted several times, but no one answered, as if there was no one inside. Yi Xinwen's patience had long been exhausted. Break the door open. I want to see what Yun Chujiu wants to do. An old woman brought by Yi Xinwan slammed the door of Xiaohua Garden hard. Unexpectedly, the door was not bolted. The old woman used too much strength and fell to the ground. Coincidentally, her front teeth knocked on a stone. It fell off immediately. The old woman's mouth was full of blood. She looked terrible. Yi Xinhuan did not have the time to pay attention to the old woman. She entered the courtyard and looked around. Back then Yilan was insufferably arrogant. Even she, the elder sister of the first wife, had to ask a maid to inform her if she wanted to enter the courtyard. When Yilan was in a bad mood, she would immediately shut her out. Fortunately, she seized the opportunity. Otherwise, if she let Yilan marry into the Fan family, she would be even more arrogant. Lu Shi saw that there was still no one in the courtyard. She could not help but be very puzzled. Even if that little bitch Yun Chujio had gone out to hide, where did those servants go? At this moment, someone on the roof said, "Aunt Im here." Everyone followed the voice and saw a little girl squatting on the roof. Her face was covered by a veil. It was Yun Chujio. Lu Shi was stunned and then scolded, "Little Jio, what are you doing? Didn't you see your aunt and sister Su Shui come? Why aren't you coming down?" "First aunt, I don't have enough strength left. I don't know why, but my face has a rash. It's not just me but the servants too. I don't know if this rash is a pollen allergy or an infectious disease. I told them to stay in the servants' room and not come out because I was afraid of infecting you. Aunt, you'd better find a doctor to come over and take a look at us. Otherwise, it would be bad if we really infected you." After Yun Chujio finished speaking, she took off the veil on her face. Everyone saw that her face was densely covered with small rashes, and some of her face even had yellow water flowing out. Fan Sushua almost vomited in disgust. She said in horror, "Mother, we'd better leave quickly. Don't let this dirty thing infect us." Fan Sushua couldn't wait to jump out of the courtyard. She was afraid that if she stayed a little longer she would be infected. Yi Bingying followed closely. She didn't want her appearance to become so disgusting and terrifying. Although Lu Shi and Yi Xinhuan had some doubts in their hearts, they didn't dare to take the risk. If it really was an infectious disease, then it would be terrible. Especially Yi Xinhuan. Fan Jichuan was very lustful. There were a lot of concubines in the house. If her appearance was ruined, there would be no way to keep Fan Jichuan. Therefore, the two of them could not wait to leave the courtyard. After running far away in one breath, Yi Xinhuan said to Lu Shi, "Sister-in-law, quickly find a doctor to take a look at her. If it's true, it's fine. But if it's her trick, humph." Lu Shi understood and immediately asked her maid to invite the doctor. Yun Chujio stood on the roof. After seeing Lu Shi and the others leave, she sneered, put on her veil and jumped down from the roof. This guy walked to the door of the servants' room. When he pushed the door open, he saw 2 old women and 4 maids squatting in the corner with trembling faces. Their faces were full of rashes. Chapter 24. Yun Chujio pulled over a chair and sat on it. She crossed her legs and said with a smile, "You know what to say later, right? Do you need me to teach you patiently?" The 6 people squatting on the ground shook their heads like rattle drums. They were wrong. They thought that Yun Chujio was just a little girl who lived under someone else's roof. Who would have thought that she was simply a devil? An hour ago, Xiaohua Garden. After Yun Chujio received Yi Bingjia's voice transmission talisman, she rubbed her chin and blinked her eyes. Yi Xinhuan was the daughter of Gushi, and Gushi hated her to the core. Yi Xinhuan would definitely help Gushi vent her anger. Moreover, Yi Xinhuan probably hated Yilan to the core, and she would definitely hate her as well. Therefore, it was better to think of a foolproof plan. Old Master Yi and Yi Yuanliang were afraid of offending the Fan family, so they probably would not speak up for her. Unless she was stupid, she would go back to the living room to be tortured. However, if she did not go, Yi Xinhuan might come and find trouble. In addition, Lu Shi and Yi Bingying were instigating from the side, so it was very likely that they would use Xiaohua Garden to cause trouble. Xiaohua Garden was her mother's courtyard. No matter what, they could not let Yi Xinhuan and her daughter live in it. It was definitely not possible to fight head-on. They had to outsmart them. Yun Chujio rubbed her chin and pondered for a while. Then she called the 2 old women and the 4 maids into the house. "I know that among the 6 of you there are Grandmother Ji's people and Aunt Guess people. I don't really care about these things. As long as you don't harm me, I can't be bothered with you," Yun Chujio said slowly. The 6 servants looked at each other and opened their mouths, not knowing what to say. At this moment they heard Yun Chujio continue, "You must have heard that my aunt is here, right? None of you reported it to me. What are you thinking?" Yun Chujio had completely received Di Biming's true teachings. The 6 servants immediately became terrified and hurriedly explained that they didn't go out and didn't know anything. Yun Chujio laughed coldly. If my aunt wants to move into Xiaohua Garden and ask me to move out, what do you think we should do? The 6 servants looked at each other and thought, what can we do? Aunt is a member of the Fan family, how can you compare to her? I have a way to make her give up on the idea of moving into Xiaohua Garden. However, I need your cooperation. Are you willing or not? Yun Chujio took out a large kitchen knife from her storage ring as she spoke. She took out a whetstone and started sharpening the knife. Slash, slash. The ear-piercing sound of sharpening the knife was like a life-threatening talisman, ringing in the hearts of the servants. They were sure that if they said no, this Yun Chujio would kill them. Are you all mute? Are you willing or not? Yes, yes. The 6 of them stuttered. They had made up their minds. No matter what, they would first brush them off and then ask their masters for help. Yun Chujio saw that the 6 of them had agreed. The corners of her lips curled up. Are you guys planning to secretly seek help from your master behind your back? You guys are really stupid. When your master sent you to me, you guys became abandoned. If you guys complain, it's just to let me suffer some punishment. I'm a person who holds grudges the most. As long as I'm still alive, I will kill you guys. If you don't believe me, well, just wait and see. Don't doubt my courage. After all, I dare to put a big kitchen knife on Grandmother Guest's neck. He. Although the 6 servants did not know what he meant, they were afraid. Chapter 24:11 The Devil's Sinister Smile. The 6 servants looked at each other and saw the fear in each other's eyes. This Yun Chujio even dared to threaten the old madam, not to mention the servants. Even if she killed them all, old master, you would probably only punish them. Do you understand? Those who understand stand on my right-hand side. Those who don't understand stand on my left-hand side. I just want to see if my large kitchen knife can be sharpened quickly, Yun Chujio said coldly while holding the large kitchen knife. The 6 servants immediately stood on Yun Chujio's right-hand side. What a joke. If they stood on the left-hand side, their heads would be moved immediately. Yun Chujio was satisfied with the 6 of them being tactful. She nodded. Since you are so tactful, I will give up on the first plan. I originally thought that you would be tactless. I planned to kill you and make a scene. This courtyard is full of corpses. I guess my aunt will not move in because she feels unlucky. The 6 servants' legs went weak and they immediately fell to the ground. Was this person in front of them a human? This was simply a devil. How could she come up with such a sinister idea? Yun Chujio glanced at the 6 people. She smiled and said, you don't have to be afraid. Since you guys are so tactful, then let's carry out the second plan. Don't worry, the second plan is very gentle. I won't take your lives. The more Yun Chujio said this, the more uncertain the 6 people felt. What exactly did this little devil think of? I heard that there are some medicinal herbs growing in the Spirit Peach Forest, right? Yun Chujio changed the topic and asked about the Spirit Peach Forest. The 6 servants didn't know what Yun Chujio meant by her question and nodded stiffly. There were indeed some medicinal herbs in the Spirit Peach Forest, but they were not very valuable. They just let them grow and no one cared about them. Yun Chujio nodded. You guys stay in this house. We'll go take a look around the Spirit Peach Forest. After saying that, Yun Chujio left the house and went straight to the Spirit Peach Forest. The 6 servants only sat on the ground when they could not hear Yun Chujio's footsteps. They looked at each other but no one said anything. People's hearts were different. Moreover, the master behind them was not the only one. They were afraid that if they said something wrong, it would be used against them. They were very puzzled. Didn't Yun Chujio want to talk about the second plan? Why did she suddenly go to the Spirit Peach Forest? What did she mean? Not long after, Yun Chujio came back. Why didn't you guys take the opportunity to escape? I was hiding in the corner just now. If any of you leave this room, I will directly kill her with a big kitchen knife, Yun Chujio said with a smile. However, her smile now looked like the evil smile of a demon before killing someone. It was so scary. The clothes of the 6 servants were soaked in cold sweat. If they were not on guard against each other just now, they might have gone out to seek help from their masters. It was so close. Yun Chujio pursed her lips in her heart. Of course, she did not stay in the corner, but it was still good to scare them. Yun Chujio took out more than 10 leaves in the shape of Lu Yi from her storage ring and said to the crowd, get the juice from these leaves onto your face and hands. Although the 6 servants were nervous, they did not dare to disobey. They followed Yun Chujia's instructions and got the juice from the leaves onto their faces and hands. After a while, the 6 of them felt that their faces and hands were extremely itchy. Then they found that their faces were full of rashes and yellow water was flowing out from the scratches. Chapter 24:12. The Old Godly Doctor. The 6 of them were terrified. They kneeled on the ground and kowtowed non-stop. "Please spare my life, miss. Please spare my life. Don't be afraid. This thing looks quite serious, but it will return to normal after a few times of washing with the antidote. Moreover, it won't leave any scars," Yun Chujio said lightly. The 6 servants were all anxious and cried. "You said it so lightly, but it turns out that it's not your own face. Remember, when the doctor comes later, tell him that we accidentally touched a kind of herb when we were playing in the spirit peach forest, and then it became like this. Do you understand?" Yun Chujio held a stalk of spirit herb in her hand. The leaves on it were exactly the same as the leaves given to them. The 6 servants were already scared out of their wits by Yun Chujio. How could they dare not agree? They all swore to agree. Yun Chujio waved her hand. "You guys go to the servants' room next door and stay there. No matter what happens later, don't come out. Just leave it to me to handle." The 6 servants recalled what had just happened and looked at Yun Chujio in horror. One of the maids probably wanted to express her loyalty. She said carefully, "Miss Cousin, what if the doctor goes to the spirit peach forest to look for that kind of spiritual medicine? What if he can't find it?" Yun Chujio curled her lips. "This kind of spiritual medicine grows in the spirit peach forest to begin with. How can it be impossible to find it? You must be old and blind so you didn't notice it. I found a few of them when I went there." Old and blind? Although the 6 of them felt that Yun Chujio's words were inappropriate, no one would point it out for no reason. All they were thinking was, could it be that there really was that kind of spiritual medicine in the spirit peach forest? Could it be that they really didn't notice? At this moment, Yun Chujio heard the sound of footsteps coming from outside the courtyard. This fellow rolled his eyes and said to the 6 of them in a low voice, "Be more careful. If your acting fails, I'll kill you all." The 6 servants nodded repeatedly. Now, even if Gushur and Lushur could guarantee their lives, they would not dare to offend Yun Chujio, because they felt that no matter how powerful Gushur and Lushur were, they were still human beings. And the person in front of them was not human at all, but a devil. Yun Chujio looked out through the crack of the door and saw Lushur standing at the door of the courtyard. She did not come in, only an old doctor walked into the courtyard. Yun Chujio opened the door a crack and waved at the old doctor. "The old miracle doctor who saves the suffering, here we are here." Old miracle doctor? Tsk, what a simple adjective. Although the old doctor's medical skills were not bad, he was far from being worshipped by others. Therefore, this was the first time someone called him Old Miracle Doctor. The old doctor was stunned at first, then he felt that his waist was no longer sore and his legs no longer hurt. He could eat 10 big steamed buns in one go. The old doctor instantly had a good impression of the little girl who was talking in the room. He made up his mind to cure her illness. The old physician pushed the door open and entered the room. There were 7 people in the room. 6 of them were dressed as servants. They seemed to be slightly trembling as they stood there. They were probably afraid that they would get some fatal disease. The other little girl was wearing a veil, but her eyes were as clear as spring water. She said in a clear voice, "Old Miracle Doctor, please help us take a look. We are suffering to death." Yun Chujio gave a look to an old woman. The old woman came to the old doctor while trembling. Chapter 24:13. They wanted to hang themselves. The old doctor looked at it carefully. Then he said, "This is caused by the juice of the willow leaf ant grass. Although it looks scary, it's not a big deal. I'll give you a prescription. Take some herbs and put them in the face washing water. In less than 10 days they will be as good as new." A few servants were about to say according to the lines that Yun Chujio had taught them. Yun Chujio suddenly said, "Old Miracle Doctor, to tell you the truth, we deliberately got the juice on our faces. I didn't expect you to be so amazing. You actually found out the clues in such a short time. Your medical skills are really brilliant." The 6 servants were dumbfounded. What did she mean? Was there a change in the plan? Although the old doctor tried his best to restrain himself, he still showed a trace of pride on his face. He asked in puzzlement, "Little girl, why did you do this on purpose? The juice on your face is so itchy that it's unbearable. It's really torturous. Sigh. Old miracle doctor, if there was any way I wouldn't have done this. Although they are servants, I can't bear to see them suffer like this. Wu, come to think of it, I've really let them down. Yun Chujia's eyes turned red as she spoke. She actually started to sob. Those 6 servants had the expression of fucking dogs. They were shameless. You act again. You don't have the heart. Doesn't your conscience hurt when you say that? Of course, this little devil definitely doesn't have a conscience. The old physician saw that the servants' faces were distorted and their bodies were trembling. He thought, Tieskeithe, they really have deep feelings for their master and servant. These servants are probably too touched. Yun Chujio twitched a few times before she continued. Old miracle doctor, although the family scandal cannot be exposed, I believe in your character. I'll tell you the truth. This courtyard belongs to my deceased mother and it's also my courtyard now. However, my aunt and cousin want to occupy this courtyard, and they have a powerful family. How can I defeat them? Therefore I thought of this method. I made my face full of rashes and lied to them that they might have contracted an infectious disease. In this way they will keep a distance from me and won't have any designs on this courtyard. Hearing Yun Chujia's words, the old doctor said with emotion, You are really a filial child. It's just that you are poisoned, not infected with an infectious disease. Old godly doctor, you must have a way to help us, right? You see that not only are your medical skills superb, but you are also kind-hearted. Please help us. If you don't help us, my servants, they are going to hang themselves in this yard to stop those people. Sobsubi, I really can't bear it. The 6 servants were so angry that they almost vomited blood. Shameless. How could there be such a shameless person in this world? Hang themselves. You're the one who wants to hang yourself. You're the one who wants to kill us, all right? The old physician saw that the 6 servants all had expressions of anger but did not dare to speak up. He was even more certain that what Yun Chujio said was true. These servants were really loyal servants. How rare. The old physician frowned and thought for a moment, then he said, How about this? I see that some of your rashes have been scratched. The yellow water that comes out from the rashes is infectious. I will think about it and say it. I believe that they will not have any more designs on this place. Yun Chujio bowed deeply. Old miracle doctor, not only did you help me save the courtyard, you also saved the lives of the 6 of them. You are really a miracle doctor who saves the suffering and saves the suffering. The 6 people also agreed with Yun Chujio's words, and the old physician was so flattered that his mouth was almost unable to close. Old miracle doctor, this is just a small token for you to keep. It's not valuable, it's just a low-grade earth-grade spirit medicine. Yun Chujio said as she passed a wooden box to the old physician. The old physician saw that the wooden box was very simple and crude, so he did not pay too much attention to it. After he finished writing the prescription, he left the house. Chapter 24 14 Poison. After the old doctor left the courtyard, he heard Lu Shi shout, Dr. Deng, did they get an infectious disease or something? Lu Shi was afraid that the old doctor had something infectious on him, so she could only shout. The old doctor remembered what Yun Chujio said just now, and he couldn't help but feel a little disgusted with Lu Shi's behavior. He had planned to say it lightly, but now he said, They are infected with the juice of the willow leaf ant grass, so they have a rash on their bodies. Normally those rashes are not contagious, but they have already scratched the rash. The yellow water inside is contagious, so it's better to isolate it. When Lu Shi heard the doctor's words, she could not help but take a few steps back. Dr. Deng, how long will it take to recover? It depends. At least 10 days or half a month. If the situation doesn't go well, a month is also possible, the doctor said indifferently. A certain Gio who was eavesdropping in the yard couldn't help but curl her lips. This old man still knows how to play freely. Not bad. This guy had already decided when Yi Xinwan and her daughter would leave her and return to Xingtian Academy, so as to prevent the yard from being occupied. As for Xingtian Academy, Jinji was usually there to help record the content of the lessons so they could just listen to it when they returned. This fellow was completely not worried that Xingtian Academy would not approve the holidays. Otherwise, wouldn't the 3-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed eagle's inner core be given away for nothing? Moreover, even if Yun Chujio wanted to go back to school, the people of Xingtian Academy would probably not let her go back even if they heard that she was in danger of infecting others. Lu Shi asked the old doctor about some other matters before paying the consultation fee and sending people to the pharmacy to get the medicine. Lu Shi turned around and went to the guest house where Yi Xinwan and her daughter were staying. He told Yun Chujio about what had happened. Yi Xinwan frowned. Is that doctor reliable? Could he be working with that little bitch to deceive us? Xinwan, don't worry about that. Dr. Deng is famous for his bad temper. It's impossible for that little bitch to bribe him, Lu Shi explained. Humph. It's really too easy for her. In that case, let's stay here. Yi Xinwan said unhappily. She originally thought that she could take the opportunity to teach that little bitch a lesson. She did not expect that she would be able to avoid it twice in a row. It was really detestable. Lu Shi smiled apologetically and said a few words. I've already sent people to follow Dr. Deng to get the medicine. Perhaps she will recover in a few days. When the time comes, just let her move out. Fan Sushue pouted at the side. Mother, since that little bitch is disrespectful to grandmother, why don't we do something to the medicine and make her face never recover? Yi Bingying's eyes flashed with joy. When she was chatting with Fan Sushue just now, she had mentioned that Yun Chujia's appearance was very beautiful and Fan Sushue was indeed jealous. When Yi Xinwan heard Fan Sukshue's words, not only did she not reprimand her, she instead said, Sushue is right. We cannot be merciful towards such a little bitch. Let's see how she can be arrogant in the future after destroying her appearance. Lu Shi said in a troubled manner, but what if the old master finds out? That bitch is now quite popular with the old master. It's okay. I don't believe that grandfather would make things difficult for me over a bastard. The more Lu Shi said this, the more Yi Xinwan was determined to make a move. Back then Yi Lan had suppressed her everywhere, now she would let her daughter have a taste of being disfigured. Chapter 24:15. Let's make a bet, Xinwan. I don't have any poison that can disfigure a person. If I only tamper with the food, I can only make her recover a little later. I can't disfigure her, Lu Shi said awkwardly. Yi Xinwan sneered. She took out a bag of medicinal powder from her storage ring. Mix this into the medicinal soup. In a few hours her face will start to fester. Moreover, it's useless even if you use the muscle regeneration pill. Lu Shi frowned. Xinwan, I just remembered something. It said that that little bitch is a grade 10 alchemist. Will she discover that we tampered with the medicinal soup? Don't worry. This medicine is colorless and tasteless. That little bitch will not discover it, Yi Xinwan said confidently. She had specially bought this medicinal powder at a high price in order to ruin the faces of several concubines. Hearing Yi Xinwan's words, Lu Shi smiled and nodded. Then she left the guest house with Yi Bingying. After the mother and daughter returned to Lu Shi's courtyard, Yi Bingying lowered her voice and asked, Mother, will this work? You won't implicate us, right? You should let aunt's people do it. Silly girl, although your aunt is a little simple-minded, she's not a fool. If we don't participate in it, how can she trust us? Besides, after this matter, your aunt's impression of you will be better. With her help, you will be able to have a better life in the Chaos Origin sect in the future. Moreover, your cousin Mingchuan has never taken a wife. Although our family background is a little inferior, it's not like you don't have the chance to marry a daughter from a higher family and a wife from a lower family. When you come to the Chaos Origin sect in the future, you will have a lot of contact with each other. Perhaps this marriage will come naturally. Lu Shi explained her plan. Mother, why are you saying all this? It's better to quickly settle the matter of the medicinal powder. Yi Bingying blushed. Although she had only met Fan Mingchuan a few times, she already had her heart set on him. Seeing that Yi Bingying was shy, Lu Shi smiled and did not continue to tease her. Lu Shi handed the medicinal powder to her trusted aide and asked her to settle this matter. At this moment Yun Chujia was playing shuttlecock with the 6 servants. The 4 maids were still all right. After all, they were all young and loved to play. The 2 old ladies were embarrassed. They had not played for many years and made mistakes frequently. Yun Chujia was unhappy. If anyone can't catch the shuttlecock, she will not be allowed to use the medicinal soup later. When the 2 old ladies heard this, they immediately started kicking the shuttlecock with all their might. Fortunately, they were both cultivators and their movement techniques were still flexible. At least they did not make mistakes again. After a while, a maid at the door said, Miss, I've left the medicinal soup at the door for you. Those maids were obviously afraid of being infected. After saying that, they ran away without a trace. Yun Chujio curled her lips and asked the servants to move the medicinal soup into the courtyard. Yun Chujio's eyes flickered and she said to the 6 servants with a smile, "How about we make a bet?" The 6 servants were confused. This young miss was purely mentally ill. She would kick the shuttlecock at one moment and play a bet at the next. What kind of bet was this? Why didn't she quickly soak the medicinal soup? Her face and hands were itchy to death. Although the 6 of them kept cursing in their hearts, they didn't dare to show any impatience on their faces. They said respectfully, "Young miss, what kind of bet do you want to make?" Yun Chujio curled her lips. "I bet that there is something dirty in this medicinal soup. As long as you use it to wash your faces, you will be disfigured tomorrow morning." Chapter 24:16 Human lives are like grass. What? Dirty things? Disfigured? The 6 servants were really shocked, but one of the old women still dared to say, "Miss, this is Dr. Deng's prescription. How could there be dirty things?" Of course there is no problem with the prescription, but what about the person who brewed the medicinal soup? Keske, I really feel sorry for you guys. Although your master originally wanted to harm me, they didn't care about your lives at all. All of you are abandoned. Yun Chujio said with her hands behind her back. She shook her head and said. The 6 servants looked at each other. They were still a little suspicious. Something was done in the medicinal soup. Wouldn't it be too obvious? Was the person who drugged them not afraid of being blamed by the higher-ups? Yun Chujio was too lazy to explain to them. She said lazily, "I'm also too lazy to explain to you. Well, just see the results tomorrow morning. Of course, if you insist on washing it, I won't stop you." As Yun Chujio said that, she took out the body of a wind-blade rabbit from her storage ring and threw it into one of the basins. The 6 servants looked at each other. Looks were a big deal, so it was better to be cautious. It wouldn't take more than one night to see the results in the morning. At this time, the sky had already started to darken. After Yun Chujio finished her instructions, she went into her bedroom. After she entered the bedroom, she first took out a basin of water and started to remove her makeup. The rash on her face was naturally not real. As she was covered by a veil and she was still on the roof at the time, Lu Shi and the others did not notice the flaw. After Yun Chujio washed her face, she lay on the bed and thought about the matter between Yi Xinwan and her daughter. Yi Xinwan and her daughter were different from Gu Shi and the others. They were in the name of the Fan family, so even the old master Yi did not dare to openly fall out with them. She could only think of ways to protect herself. Although there was an excuse for the rash, since they had already started to use poison, perhaps if they found out that her face was fine, they would use some sinister methods again. Yun Chujio rolled her eyes. He was really unhappy being so passive. He had to think of a way to take the initiative. It was obviously not feasible to fight them on the surface. Since it was not feasible on the surface, then she would use underhanded methods. Yun Chujio thought about it and started laughing strangely. When the servants in the servants' room heard Yun Chujio's strange laughter, they immediately trembled. What kind of terrifying idea was this little devil thinking about? Could it be that she wanted to torture them again? At this moment, their intestines were turning green with regret. They had thought that working in Xiaohua Garden was a good job. After all, what ability could a little girl who had succeeded her have that she could fool her and not retaliate? Who would have thought that they were not facing the same person but a little devil? Early the next morning, before Yun Chujio had even gotten out of bed, she heard an old woman's shrill scream. Yun Chujio roared angrily, "What are you screaming for? Shut up. I haven't woken up yet." After Yun Chujio's roar, the entire courtyard immediately quieted down. The other 5 servants heard the old woman's scream and rushed over to take a look. They saw that the wind-blade rabbit's body was festering all over, and some parts of its body had even exposed its white bones. The 6 of them felt a cold breeze on their backs. If Miss Biao had not stopped them yesterday, the consequences would have been obvious. Not only would their faces be disfigured, their hands would also be destroyed. The rest of their lives would be wasted. They were both fearful and resentful. The one they were resentful of was naturally their true master. It was obvious that they had indeed become abandoned children. Human lives were as worthless as grass. The lives of their servants were indeed worthless. Chapter 24:17 The 6 servants sat on the ground and looked at the rabbit in the basin. No one said anything. Firstly, they didn't know what to say. Could it be that they were publicly cursing their master? If anyone heard them, it would be a capital offense. Secondly, the ancestor in the room hadn't woken up yet. If they woke her up, she might teach them a lesson. After an hour, there was movement in the house. A few servants scrambled to ask, "Miss, do you need me to help you wash up?" As soon as the words left their mouths, their eyes locked together. They had clearly figured it out. Since they had already become the abandoned children of the original owner, they could only gain the favor of Miss to have a chance of survival. Therefore, in order to compete for the favor, the few of them began to compete in their hearts. Yun Chujio naturally would not let them serve her. No matter how heartless she did not feel that pleasing to the eye when she saw the maids with rashes all over their faces. After Yun Chujio left the house, she saw the rabbit in the medicinal soup bowl and smiled. This medicinal soup is not useless. Look, there's no need to remove the fur. It can be directly chopped and stewed into meat to eat. The corners of the 6 servants' eyes twitched violently. How dare you eat rabbit meat like this? Aren't you afraid of rotten intestines? Yun Chujio stretched lazily. Did you all see that? If it weren't for me, all of you would have become the same as this rabbit. Shouldn't all of you express your gratitude to me? For example, spirit stones, spirit tools, and the like. The more the merrier. The 6 servants were dumbfounded. Did this little ancestor mean to ask for benefits? Heavens, I've never heard of a master asking for something from a servant. Doesn't your conscience hurt? However, the 6 of them didn't dare to refuse. They gritted their teeth and gave Yun Chujio some spirit stones. Yun Chujio naturally didn't care about these spirit stones, but if some people didn't let her feel the pain, she wouldn't remember it. After Yun Chujio put away the spiritual stones, she glanced at the 6 people. If you want to live, listen to me in the future, or else you will be killed. The 6 people quickly knelt on the ground and swore to show their loyalty. No matter how nice you say it, it's useless. Let me see your actual actions. Now you will howl and say that all of our faces are disfigured. The more miserable the howl, the more loyal she is to me. Yun Chujio blinked her eyes and said. The 6 servants couldn't figure out Yun Chujio's intentions. One of the maids said, "Miss Cousin, but our faces haven't been disfigured at all. If someone comes in to check, what will we do then?" Yun Chujio curled the corners of her lips. She took out a few veils from her storage ring and handed them to everyone. When someone comes in later, hide your hands in your sleeves and put on the veils. Just follow behind me. Whoever wants to ask anything, just cry. However, don't worry. I reckon that apart from Dr. Deng, no one will enter the courtyard to check. Although the 6 servants were still confused, they did not dare to disobey. Now, apart from trusting the little devil in front of them, they had no other way to survive. The 6 servants began to howl, each more mournful than the last. Especially the 2 old ladies. They knew that they did not have the advantage over the other 4 maids in other aspects, so they could only perform in the howling. They raised their voices and howled as if they were slaughtering pigs. Yun Chujio was shocked. She thought that if these 2 old ladies were in the modern era, they would definitely have the potential to be sopranos. It would not be difficult for them to sing like dolphins. Chapter 24:18 Hug Me. The cries of the 6 servants naturally attracted the attention of many people. However, because their rashes were contagious, many people only watched from afar and did not dare to approach Xiaohua Garden. In fact, yesterday when Min Shi and Yi Bingyu wanted to visit Yun Chujio, she was rejected by Yun Chujio. She sent a voice transmission talisman to Yi Bingyu. It only had 2 words, "Don't read it." Yi Bingyu couldn't make heads or tails of it, so she looked for Min Shi to discuss it. Min Shi smiled and said, "Looks like little Jio is up to something again. He has a lot of ideas. Let's listen to her and not cause trouble for her." Yi Bingyu thought of Yun Chujio's perversion and felt that her mother's words made sense. How could a person who could even handle the city lord of Tianluo City not be able to handle a small rash? Lu Shi had already sent people to keep an eye on Xiaohua Garden. As soon as she heard the wailing inside, she immediately reported it to Lu Shi. Lu Shi's heart was filled with joy. She went to the guest house and told Yi Xinwan and her daughter about the matter. Yi Xinwan said proudly, "It seems that the people inside have already been disfigured. Let's see how that little bitch will show off in the future." Lu Shi echoed, "That's right. Her appearance has been disfigured. Even the old master won't value her anymore. Let's find a chance to kill her in the future. However, I still have to put on an act now. I'll go over and then ask Dr. Deng to treat them. Xinwan, he won't find anything out, right? Don't worry. It wasn't easy for me to get that medicinal powder. He's just a chief physician, so he won't be able to find anything out. He'll only say that they were caused by touching other poisonous herbs, Yi Xinwan said with some confidence. She had used this poisonous powder many times in the Fan family, and no one had ever found out about it. Hearing Yi Xinwan's words, Lu Shi nodded and left the guest house to the outside of Xiaohua Garden. Little Jiu, what happened? Lu Shi was afraid of being infected, so she stood at the gate of the courtyard and shouted. Wu Wu, and our faces are all festered. Wu Wu, we're all disfigured. I don't want to live anymore. Please come in and see me. Yun Chujia's crying came from the courtyard. The 6 servants in Xiaohua Garden looked at certain Jiu with a confused expression. A certain Jiu was the one who was talking about this little ancestor, right? Little Jiu, don't get carried away. I'll send someone to get Dr. Deng right away. Something must have gone wrong. Besides, if you're disfigured, you'll be able to recover with the flawless muscle regeneration pill. Don't be too sad. Lu Shi wasn't willing to go in and check. It would be terrible if she was infected. Wu Wu, and I'm so scared. Please come in and see me. I really want to throw myself into your arms and cry. Otherwise I'll go out. Lu Shi was so scared that her face turned white. She shouted while running, I'll go and find the doctor for you now. Don't come out, please don't come out. Aunt, don't go. Come and hug me. Aunt. Yun Chujio stood at the entrance of Xiaohua Garden and whined. Lu Shi didn't even dare to turn her head back. That little bastard might not have any good intentions at all. It would be terrible if her face was disfigured by her infection. Yun Chujio sighed. She said to the servants who were watching the scene from afar, Sigh. Why don't you guys come over and talk to us? Although we are disfigured, aren't we all wearing veils on our faces? You won't be scared. Come here quickly. The servants ran away one by one. Even the spies of Lu Shi ran away, afraid that if they were one step slower, they would be caught by Yun Chujio and thrown into Xiaohua Garden. Yun Chujio curled the corners of her lips and returned to the courtyard. She said to the 6 servants, See? Tell me, who else would suspect that we are not disfigured? Chapter 24, 19 Salt-free powder. The 6 servants were shaking their heads like rattle drums. After the little devil's torment, it was estimated that no one would come within a mile of Xiaohua Garden. Miss Cousin, then what if Dr. Deng comes? An old woman asked in a hoarse voice. Yes, she was howling too hard just now, so her voice was naturally hoarse. Yun Chuju looked at her as if she was looking at an idiot. Dr. Deng has already helped us once, so naturally he will help us a second time. That old man has already boarded our pirate ship. Can he still jump off the ship and commit suicide? Almost at the same time, a thought flashed through the minds of the 6 servants. This little devil was too wicked. Dr. Deng was really unlucky. Yun Chujio rolled her eyes and gave a few more instructions to the 6 servants. The 6 servants looked like they had nothing left to live for and nodded their heads in frustration. At this moment there was a knock on the door. Dr. Deng had arrived. Yun Chujio asked an old woman to open the door and let Dr. Deng into the courtyard. Yun Chujio coughed and immediately the 6 servants started crying again. Old miracle doctor, save us. Old miracle doctor, my face is ruined. I won't be able to face anyone in the future. Old miracle doctor, will my face never be cured again? The servants who were watching from afar heard the crying in Xiaohua Garden, and they confirmed that these people were really disfigured and it was very serious. Dr. Deng was so shocked by the earth-shattering crying that he almost sat on the ground. He steadied his mind and said, Remove the veil and let me take a look. Yun Chujio opened the isolation array and sighed. Old miracle doctor, before you look at our faces, please take a look at this. Yun Chujio said as she asked the servant to bring out the medicinal soup bowl that was soaked with the wind-blade rabbit's corpse. Dr. Deng was shocked. Miss Yun, what does this mean? Old miracle doctor, this is the medicinal soup that you gave us. I think you should stop being a doctor in the future and change your profession to selling cooked food. With this exclusive secret recipe, shedding hair is simply too easy, isn't it? Dr. Deng was so angry that his beard stood up. Nonsense. How can the prescription that I gave you have corrosive effects? This is impossible. Old miracle doctor, if you don't believe me, I still have a few pots here. You can try putting your hand in. Yun Chujio said as she took out the remaining few pots of medicinal soup. Dr. Deng was so angry that his liver was trembling. Unless he was crazy, he would only put his hand in. Dr. Deng took out a special glove from his storage ring. After putting it on, he used a spoon to scoop out a spoonful of medicinal soup and smelled it. Dr. Deng looked puzzled. There was nothing wrong with the smell of the medicinal soup. He frowned and thought for a long time. Suddenly, he took out a herb with purple flowers from his storage ring. Dr. Deng threw the herb into the pot. Everyone was surprised to find that the small purple flowers on the herb had turned blue. Moreover, it was a cold blue color. Dr. Deng was shocked and angry. Someone added salt-free powder into it. Who is so vicious? Salt-free powder? Then if you are disfigured by this medicinal soup, is there any hope for you to recover? Yun Chujio asked from the side. Dr. Deng shook his head. Salt-free powder is a forbidden medicine of a mysterious family in the far west region. This old man also happened to have an opportunity to save a member of their family. He once told me about this kind of salt-free powder. Salt-free powder is colorless and tasteless. Only this kind of purple blood forsythia can be tested. That person once told me that there is no antidote for salt-free powder. Moreover, the medicinal properties are very strong. Just a little bit of it can destroy a person's face. Chapter 24:20 What if the salt-free powder had an antidote? When the 6 servants heard Dr. Deng's words, they felt even more grateful towards Yun Chujio. At first, they thought that Yun Chujio was just scaring them. They thought that even if they were disfigured, they would be able to recover their looks with the muscle revitalization pill. They did not expect that the salt-free powder really did not have an antidote. Yun Chujio was very clear about their thoughts. She could not be bothered with them and said to Dr. Deng, "Old miracle doctor, there is no doubt that the salt-free powder was put in there by our Yi residents. The purpose was to disfigure me. Fortunately, I have always been careful in my actions, so I did not fall for their tricks. However, there are only 1,000 days of being a thief and not 1,000 days of being on guard against thieves. I was afraid that they would come up with a poison plan if their plan failed, so I simply played along and said that we were disfigured." Dr. Deng had already guessed a thing or two when he saw the wind-blade rabbit's corpse, so he was not too surprised when he heard Yun Chujio say this. Dr. Deng sighed. "But I'm afraid this matter can't be kept secret for long. Miss Yun, why don't you go and talk to Old Master Yi? Old Master Yi is a sensible person, so he will naturally protect you." Yun Chujio sneered with slight mockery. "Old miracle doctor, you also know that my aunt's husband's family is a super aristocratic family, the Fan family. Do you think my great-grandfather will fall out with her because of me? In this Yi family I can only rely on myself. I can't rely on anyone." Dr. Deng was stunned at first, then he sighed. In a large family, the most important thing was the interests of the family. Family ties were really thin. What this little girl said made sense. "I'm afraid that Old Master Yi wouldn't be able to protect her." Sigh. "Miss Yun, then how do you want me to help you? Even though this old man sympathizes with all of you, if people were to find out that this old man had collaborated with you to cheat, I'm afraid that not only would this old man's medicine shop be unable to protect itself, this old man's life would also be in danger." Dr. Deng said in a troubled manner. The last time he helped Yun Chujio and the others to hide it, it was because it was a piece of cake. He was not afraid that others would find something wrong with it. However, it was different this time. Yun Chujio and the others had already told the public that they were disfigured, but in the end their looks were still intact. If the person behind the scenes were to vent his anger, he would definitely not be spared. "Old miracle doctor, actually, this matter is not difficult to handle. Everything that you said happened on the basis that there was no antidote to the salt-free powder. If you had the antidote to the salt-free powder, wouldn't this matter be solved easily?" Yun Chujio said with a smile. Dr. Deng almost choked with anger. "Aren't you talking nonsense? If there was an antidote to the salt-free powder, would he be so bored that he would worry about nothing?" Dr. Deng said angrily, "Miss Yun, the salt-free powder doesn't have an antidote. Even the mysterious family doesn't have an antidote. How can we get an antidote? Isn't this nonsense?" Everything in the world is mutually reinforcing and counteracting each other. Nothing has no natural enemies. It's the same for humans and everything else. Moreover, although the salt-free powder is vicious, it takes several hours to take effect. This means that its main medicine should be a kind of poisonous grass. I think that since the violet blood forsythia you just took out can be tested to be salt-free, it might be the nemesis of the salt-free powder. Yun Chujio blinked her eyes and said. Dr. Deng said with a wry smile, Miss Yun, although what you said makes some sense, but if the violet blood forsythia is the antidote, that mysterious family wouldn't have found it after so many years? So it's impossible. Yun Chujio raised her eyebrows. Old miracle doctor, there's a saying that those who are in the middle of the matter can see clearly. They might really be riding a donkey to look for a donkey. If you don't try, how do you know that it won't work? Besides, we won't be exposed for 8 to 10 days anyway. You can go back and study it. If it doesn't work, you can report us again. Chapter 24-21 The helpless old master Yi. Dr. Deng thought for a moment and agreed to Yun Chujio's suggestion. He really had no way to go against his conscience and report them. He had no choice but to go back and study them first. Yun Chujio whispered a few more words to Dr. Deng. Dr. Deng was stunned and nodded. Before leaving, Yun Chujio gave Dr. Deng a simple wooden box as usual. Dr. Deng casually put it into his storage ring. He did not have the time to open the wooden box from last time. Dr. Deng walked out of Xiaohua Garden. After walking for a while, he saw Lu Shi waiting with her maid. Dr. Deng, can little Jio's looks recover? Lu Shi asked from afar. I'm not sure. It seems that other than the juice of the willow leaf ant grass, they were also contaminated with other poisonous plants. I'll go back and study it carefully. I'll come back for a consultation in 2 days. During this period, just let them continue to use the medicinal soup from before. At least it can alleviate the pain, Dr. Deng said according to what Yun Chujio had taught him. Lu Shi was delighted. As expected, what she said to Yi Xinwan was right. Dr. Deng could not find anything at all. He just said that there were poisonous herbs and so on. That little bastard was completely finished. Lu Shi paid the fee and was about to send a servant to send Dr. Deng out of the Yi residence when housekeeper Fu walked over. Housekeeper Fu first bowed to Lu Shi, then said, Eldest madam, the old master wants to see Dr. Deng and ask about Miss Cousin's condition. Lu Shi naturally could not stop him, but she felt that there was no flaw. Moreover, even if they really found something, the old master Yi would not dare to fall out with Yi Xinwan. Housekeeper Fu brought Dr. Deng to old master Yi's study. After old master Yi let Dr. Deng sit down, he said, How is little Jio's condition? Can her appearance recover? Old master Yi, this old man does not dare to hide it from you. Miss Yun was poisoned by the salt-free powder this time. There is no antidote to the salt-free powder. Although this old man has a slight idea of how to detoxify it, the hope is not high. Don't worry, I will keep this matter a secret. I only said to the eldest madam that Miss Yun might have touched some poisonous grass by mistake. Dr. Deng's words were naturally told to him by Yun Chujio. Dr. Deng sighed in his heart. That little girl was really smart. She even guessed that old master Yi would ask him questions. After old master Yi heard that Yun Chujio was disfigured, he guessed a little. His heart was very complicated. On one hand, he felt that he had let down his great-granddaughter, who he had just recognized. On the other hand, he resented Yi Xinwen's ruthlessness. However, he was also afraid of the Fan family's influence. He did not dare to speak openly with Yi Xinwan and openly fall out with her. Since you know your limits, I won't say anything more. If you can cure little Jio, this old man will definitely not mistreat you. You may leave. Old Master Yi waved his hand at Dr. Deng. After Dr. Deng left, old Master Yi slumped into his chair dejectedly. He felt a little guilty about what happened to Yilan back then. He did not expect that even though Lan's daughter was disfigured by X and Wan, he was powerless to do anything about it. As the head of the Yi family, he was truly an extremely cowardly person. Fortunately, he had already sent Yuan Liang out. Otherwise, if he were to find out, he would definitely cause another huge ruckus. Although the Yi family looked like a blossoming flower on the outside, in reality, they could not withstand a single blow. They could no longer endure any more torment. Little ninth girl, I only hope that you can survive this calamity. Old Master Yi did not know that a certain Jiao who had already been disfigured was extremely at ease at this moment. This fellow had set up a hammock in the spirit peach forest. Lying on it, he was reading a script and eating fruits. He was extremely at ease. Chapter 24-22 The little angel had arrived. Yun Chujie was not worried at all that someone would come over to find out what was going on. Those people were extremely afraid of death. Unless their balls were hurting, they would only come over to look for trouble. As for the antidote for the salt-free powder, this fellow naturally knew about it because this fellow had Guai Chao, this little expert in detoxification. When she saw the few pots of poison soup yesterday, the Guai Chao in her dantian was almost overjoyed. That was why Yun Chujie was able to determine that someone had tampered with the medicinal soup. Yun Chujie finally managed to suppress the strange grass that was clamoring. She took out the 100 herbs mirror and observed the reaction of the strange grass to guess the ingredients of the antidote for Guai Chao. The stalk of purple blood forsythia that Dr. Deng took out was indeed the main ingredient of the antidote, but it had no effect if used directly. It could only be used as the antidote after it was roasted. In addition, there were a few other spiritual herbs that needed to be added to become the antidote for Guai Chao. Yun Chujie placed the few spirit herbs into the wooden box and handed them over to Dr. Deng. It would depend on his luck. However, with her unintentional advice, she believed that as long as Dr. Deng was not too stupid, he would definitely come up with an antidote. This could also be considered a big gift to him. Just as Yun Chujie was thinking about it, she heard a buzzing sound. She looked up and saw more than 10 silver ring spirit bees gathering honey on the spirit peach blossom. The poison of these spirit bees was not strong, and they usually would not take the initiative to attack people, so most people would not pay too much attention to them. Yun Chujie blinked her eyes. She had originally planned to seek revenge on the Yi mother and daughter after some time, but she did not expect the little angel-like helper to arrive. It was really wonderful. Yun Chujie suddenly jumped up from the hammock and reached out to grab a silver-ringed spirit bee. The silver-ringed spirit bee was about to pierce through Yun Chujie's right hand, but it was frightened by the pressure of the small flame. It lowered its head and didn't dare to struggle anymore. Yun Chujie was stunned. She didn't expect the small flame to become more powerful. It seemed that the fire marrow from the divine axe and heavenly pit was not wasted. Yun Chujie easily established a temporary contract with the silver ring spirit bee, and she also established a temporary contract with the other 10 or so bees. Yun Chujie revealed a sinister smile. It was the most interesting way to give someone a taste of their own medicine. Didn't the Yi mother and daughter like to ruin other people's looks? Then let them have a taste of being disfigured. After Dr. Deng and housekeeper Fu left, Lu Shi turned around and went to the guest house. Xinhuan, things are pretty much as you guessed. Dr. Deng guessed that the little bastard was poisoned by some poisonous herb. However, housekeeper Fu called Dr. Deng away just now and said that the old master wanted to see him. Is there anything wrong? Yi Xinhuan snorted indifferently. Let alone that quack doctor, it's impossible for him to know about my medicinal powder. Even if he really knew, the little bastard's appearance has already been ruined. What can grandfather really do to me? Sister-in-law, in grandfather's eyes, the most important thing is not which junior but the Yi family. Otherwise that bitch Elon was so doted on back then. In the end, wasn't she still removed from the list? Lu Shi nodded. Xinhuan, you're the one who saw it clearly. That little bitch's appearance has already been ruined. She won't be able to stir up any more waves in the future. Back then Yilon overestimated herself and went against you, sister. In the end, not only did she lose her little life early, but now her daughter has also been disfigured. It's really karma. Humph. All of this was brought on by that bitch Yilon. She, a daughter of a concubine, still wants to suppress me in every way. She's really courting death. Sister-in-law, in the future, find an opportunity to let that bitch sow her seed and reunite with that bitch Yilon. Yi Xinhuan said coldly. Chapter 24-23 was also very helpless. A certain Jiao who was drawing with a brush sneezed twice. Damn it, it's probably Lu Shi and the others scolding me again. If it wasn't for the fear of causing too much trouble, I really wanted to take care of Lu Shi and Gu Shi as well. Although Yun Chujie had only seen the Yi mother and daughter once, Her drawing was very lifelike. The dozen silver ring spirit bees stopped on Yoon Chujie's body and looked at the portrait curiously. They were actually very helpless about being rejected by the contract, because they couldn't defeat this pervert in front of them. After Yoon Chujie finished drawing, she said to the spirit bees, "Do you see them? These two people are your targets. Go and scout around first, confirm the courtyard they live in, and then come back to find me." The spirit bees heard Yoon Chujie's instructions and flew away obediently. Yoon Chujie took out a pot of medicinal soup with salt-free powder from her storage ring and started to drink it. Fortunately, the servants were all sent away by Yoon Chujie. Otherwise, they would have been scared to death when they saw this scene. Yoon Chujie felt that it was no wonder that others said she was a pervert. It seemed that she was quite a pervert. If it were an ordinary person after drinking such a big bowl of medicinal soup, not to mention that it was highly poisonous, even if they were stuffed to death, they would still be stuffed to death. After Yoon Chujie finished drinking the medicinal soup, she held a small porcelain bowl in her hand and said to the Guai Chao in her dantian, "Spit out a small part of the salt-free powder for me. I have use for it. In the future, when I have the opportunity, I will get the formula and let you drink to your heart's content." The Guai Chao in her dantian reluctantly squeezed out a few drops of liquid. Yoon Chujie took a sniff and found that there was no smell. It seemed that it was the salt-free powder. After Yoon Chujie diluted the few drops of liquid, she carefully got more than 10 leaves. The leaves that Yoon Chujie chose were the iron core camphor tree that was commonly planted in the Yi family's courtyard. This tree was very resistant to drought, so its leaves were relatively small and in the shape of a drum, which was convenient for collecting rainwater. Yoon Chujie just happened to put the salt-free water into the drum. As soon as Yoon Chujie was done, the dozen silver ring spirit bees flew back. "You guys think of a way to get the medicinal juice on the leaves into their clothes or the water used to wash their faces. You can also put it in their food. After you succeed, I have some honey from the red-eyed poisonous tail bees. I'll give you some when the time comes. Oh right, the medicinal juice on the leaves has a corrosive effect. Be careful not to get it on yourself." After Yoon Chujie finished speaking, she handed the soaked leaves to the spirit bees. Since the leaves were not stained with the medicinal juice, they would not have any effect on themselves if they held onto the leaves. More than 10 spirit bees held onto the leaves carefully and flew towards the courtyard where the Yi mother and daughter lived. These spirit bees were quite intelligent. They did not act rashly. Instead, they stopped on a tree in the corner of the guest house, looking for a suitable time to poison. At this moment, Yi Bingying walked in from outside the courtyard. She wanted to marry Fan Mingchuan, so she planned to curry favor with the Yi family mother and daughter. Therefore, she came to the guest house very frequently at this stage. Fan Sushua did not know anyone in the Yi family, so she did not respond in a cold or warm manner. After entering the house, Yi Bingying greeted Yi Xinwan and said to Fan Sushua, "Sushua, there are many flowers in the back garden. There's nothing to do around here. Let me accompany you for a walk." Fan Sushua was indeed a little bored staying in the courtyard. She nodded and left the house with Yi Bingying. As soon as they entered the courtyard, more than 10 silver ring spirit bees flew down from the trees and circled around Fan Suksha's head a few times before flying away. As the incident happened suddenly and the silver ring spirit bees were extremely fast, by the time everyone reacted, the silver ring spirit bees had already disappeared. Chapter 24 was affected. What's going on? Why are there spirit bees in this courtyard? Although Fan Sushua wasn't stung by the spirit bees, there were a few drops of water on her face and a few spots on her clothes. Yi Bingying, who was beside her, was also affected and a few drops of water splashed on her face. Yi Bingying smiled indifferently. These spirit bees probably flew over from the back garden. I saw that their claws seemed to be holding onto leaves. It's probably the dew on the leaves. It's fine. Fan Sushua did not smell anything else. She also felt that it should be fog, so she complained a few times and used her hand to wipe off the water droplets on her face. Then she followed Yi Bingying to the back garden to admire the flowers. Yoon Chujie was very satisfied when she saw the spirit bees returning from the triumphant return. After washing the remaining poison on the leaves with water, she directly destroyed the leaves and destroyed the traces. Yoon Chujie kept her promise and gave some honey to the spirit bees. One by one, the spirit bees flew away in high spirits. Yun Chujio couldn't help but sigh. It was still easier to satisfy the spirit beasts. She just gave them some honey and sent them away. That night, Fan Sushua felt pain and itchiness on her face and hands. It became more and more serious and even began to fester. Fan Sushua cried out in fear. Sushua, what's wrong? Yi Xinhuan heard Fan Sukshua's cry and quickly ran over. Fan Sushua pointed at her hands and face in fear. Mother, how can my hands and face be like this? Yi Xinhuan saw Fan Sukshua's condition and almost collapsed to the ground. She saw that several places on Fan Sukshua's fair face had begun to fester, and there were also several places on her hands that festered. Yi Xinhuan roared at those servants, "Are you all dead? Hurry up and find the doctor. Sushua, don't run. When the doctor comes, he will definitely be able to cure you. When the time comes, you just need to apply some flawless muscle pills." Hearing Yi Xinhuan's words, Fan Sushua calmed down a little. Yi Xinhuan asked again, "Sushua, how did you do this? Logically speaking, no one in the Yi family would poison you. Could it be that you encountered some poisonous grass in the back garden today?" Fan Sushua thought about it carefully. "Mother, I didn't encounter any poisonous grass in the back garden. Could it be that a servant poisoned me?" When Yi Xinhuan heard Fan Sukshua's words, she immediately tied up all the servants serving in the guest house, leaving only her confidant. "Beat them until they tell the truth. They have really rebelled against the heavens and actually dared to harm Sushua. They are courting death." Those servants naturally begged bitterly, saying that they had not poisoned Yun at all. Yi Xinhuan would not listen to their explanations and had her confidants begin to torture her to extract a confession. Instantly the guest house was filled with screams. In the dead of the night the screams spread far and wide. Gu Shi and the others were alarmed. Lu Shi was the first to rush over. Yi Bingying was already asleep. When she heard the commotion she also rushed over. On the way to the guest house she felt an itch on her face and hands. She used her hands to scratch them a few times, but the pain was unbearable. It was not easy for her to reach the guest house. When she reached the guest house, Yi Bingying saw Fan Sukshua's miserable state. She immediately had an ominous premonition, and the pain on her face and hands became unbearable. She could not help but scream. Yi Xinhuan was already very upset. When she heard Yi Bingying scream, she could not help but reprimand, "What are you shouting for? If you don't want to stay, get out." Although Lu Shi was displeased, she did not dare to say anything. She turned her head and was about to tell Yi Bingying to be quiet when she saw Yi Bingying's face and immediately screamed. Chapter 24-25. Could it be that there was no salt powder? Bingyu, your face, how did your face get destroyed? Lu Shi's voice was trembling. Yi Bingying looked down at her hand. It was already beginning to fester just like Fan Sushua. When she looked in the mirror again, 2 spots of fester appeared on her pretty face. With a scream she fainted. The guest house was once again thrown into chaos. Yi Xinhuan had originally thought that it was the servants of the guest house who had caused Fan Sukshua's death. Now that she saw that Yi Bingying's face was also disfigured, it seemed that it was not the servants of the guest house who had poisoned her. Then what was going on? Lu Shi was more meticulous than Yi Xinhuan. After comforting Yi Bingying, she asked, "Did you and Sushua touch any unknown spiritual herbs in the back garden? Or did you encounter anything unusual?" Yi Bingying and Fan Sushua shook their heads repeatedly. They only sat in the pavilion in the back garden and didn't do anything else. At this moment, a maid on the ground said in a trembling voice, "First, madam, when the 2 young ladies were in the guest house's courtyard, a group of spiritual bees once made some water droplets on their faces and bodies. Could it be the problem of those water droplets?" When Fan Sushua heard what she said, she immediately said in a flustered and exasperated manner, "There is indeed such a thing. Yi Bingying, it's all your fault. If you didn't have to call me to the back garden, would I have suffered such a calamity? At that time I still had to go back to the house to wash my face. You were the one who stopped me. Why are you so calm?" Although Yi Bingying wanted to curry favor with the Yi mother and daughter, her heart was in a mess now. She immediately retorted, "When did you say that you wanted to go back to the house to wash your face? Didn't you also guess that it was fog? Moreover, it might not have been caused by those few drops of water. If you want to blame it, I'll still blame you. Perhaps it was ants, whatever medicinal powder that accidentally got into some place that caused us to suffer." After Yi Bingying finished speaking, her face instantly revealed a terrified expression. Fan Sushue was stunned at first, then she went to beat Yi Bingying like crazy. You're talking nonsense. It's impossible. It's definitely impossible. It's just that matter of fog. It definitely won't be the salt-free powder. It definitely won't be. Yi Xinwen's head buzzed. At first it was painful and itchy and then it began to fester. This was indeed the exact same symptoms as the salt-free powder's attack. She raised her head to look at the fester on Fan Sukshi's face. Her legs were so weak that she couldn't even stand. Fan Sukshi's appearance was exactly the same as the wounds she had caused in the concubines. This was caused by the salt-free powder. The more Yi Xinwan thought about it, the more terrified she became. Her eyes rolled back and she fainted. Immediately the guest house was in a mess. Some went to pull the fight and some went to wake Yi Xinwan up. There were also more than 10 servants who were tied up on the ground. After Old Master Yi received housekeeper Fuss report, he also rushed over. Although he did not show up when Yun Chujie was in trouble, he could not come when something happened to Fan Sushue because he was afraid that the Fan family would vent their anger on the Yi family. After Old Master Yi arrived, the chaotic situation in the guest house was finally alleviated. Old Master Yi was also shocked when he saw the wounds on Fan Sushue and Yi Bingying's faces. He asked the two of them what happened. Yi Bingying told them what happened. Of course, she was not stupid enough to say that there was no salt powder or anything. She only said that they had wandered around the back garden and it became like this. Fan Sushue insisted that it was caused by those spirit bees. She blamed Yi Bingying for causing her to become like this. At this moment Yi Xinwan also woke up. Although she felt that there was a high chance that Fan Sushue had been poisoned by salt-free, she still had a glimmer of hope in her heart. She hoped that after Dr. Deng examined her, he would come to another conclusion. Chapter 24-26 was indeed affected by the salt-free powder soon. Dr. Deng was invited in. Dr. Deng saw the appearance of Fan Sushue and Yi Bingying and could not help but be shocked. The wind-blade rabbit in the medicinal soup bowl immediately appeared in his mind. Dr. Deng suddenly had a strange thought. Could it be that these two were also affected by the salt-free powder? Dr. Deng checked their pulse and asked for their diagnosis. Finally he said, the two young ladies seem to have been infected with some kind of poisonous grass. However, I am not knowledgeable enough to see what kind of poison they have been infected with. However, the symptoms of the two young ladies are similar to Miss Yun's symptoms. I am really unsure. Why don't you find someone else? When Fan Sushue heard Dr. Deng say that her symptoms were similar to Yun Chujie's, she immediately said ferociously, impossible. You quack. How could I be afflicted with salt-free powder? You must have seen wrongly. Dr. Deng was at a loss. Salt-free powder? What salt-free powder? Yi Xinwan was on the verge of breaking down. She could not care less about whether she would be exposed or not. She stared at Dr. Deng and asked, are Sushue's symptoms really the same as that little bastard's? Are you sure? Dr. Deng sighed. This old man only said that they are similar but am not sure that they are the same. You'd better find someone else. Don't delay the two young ladies' condition. Mother, he can't even diagnose the salt-free powder. He's just a quack. Don't listen to his nonsense. Hurry up and kill him. Get me another doctor, Fan Sushue said viciously. Yi Xinwan was just about to speak when Old Master Yi said in a low voice, shut up. Yi Fu, take these servants away. Housekeeper Fu knew that Old Master Yi had something to say, so he untied those servants and took them away. Although Yi Xinwan and Fan Sushue didn't take Old Master Yi seriously, they were intimidated by his majesty and didn't clamor anymore. Old Master Yi snorted coldly, Xinwan, little Ju's appearance was destroyed by you? It was destroyed with salt-free powder? Yi Xinwan said exasperatedly, Grandfather, right now, you should be concerned about Sukshi's appearance, right? Why are you talking about that bastard? That's right, I got someone to add salt-free powder into her medicinal soup. Could it be that you want to settle the score later? Old Master Yi was so angry that he gritted his teeth and said, good. Xinwan, she's just a little girl. What does it get in the way of you? You actually made such a vicious move. Zai. Alright, let's not talk about this matter first. Dr. Deng, tell the truth. Did Su Shui and Bingying also get hit by salt-free powder? Dr. Deng said, It's best to let the two young ladies clean their hands. We'll test it out. Yi Xinhuan and Fan Sushue were stunned. Did this old thing really know about salt-free powder? After Fan Sushue and Yi Bingying washed their hands with water, Dr. Deng took out a stalk of purple blood forsythia and placed it in the pot. Everyone saw that the originally purple flower had turned dark blue. Dr. Deng sighed. This purple blood forsythia will only turn dark blue after encountering salt-free powder. It seems that the two ladies have indeed been poisoned by salt-free powder. No. You're talking nonsense. I didn't go to Xiaohua Garden. How could I have been poisoned by the salt-free powder? Fan Sushue roared like a madwoman. Yi Bingying's eyes went blank. She understood what being poisoned by the salt-free powder meant. It meant that her appearance could never be restored. Her life was over. Yi Xinhuan stared at Dr. Deng with a ferocious expression. Since you can find out about the salt-free powder, why did you tell sister-in-law that the little bastard was poisoned by poisonous grass? Did you poison Sushue? Chapter 24-27 Dogs Bite Dogs. Old Master Yi was so angry that he kicked the stool over. You shut up. Wasn't Dr. Deng trying to save face for you and the Yi family? Is he going to go around the city and make a racket that you, his aunt, poisoned his niece? Moreover, Dr. Deng had not even met Su Shui. How could he have poisoned her? Can't you grow a brain? Old Master Yi was so furious that he couldn't care less whether Yi Xinhuan was a member of the Fan family or not. Although Yi Xinhuan was very inflated now, she used to be very afraid of Old Master Yi. After being yelled at by Old Master Yi, she immediately restrained herself a little. She thought carefully. What Old Master Yi said made sense. This Dr. Deng had never seen Su Shui before. How could he have poisoned her? Besides, there was no motive or opportunity to poison her. Lu Shi was unable to interrupt. Only then did she say, then it seems that it's really the problem of those spirit bees. But how could those spirit bees have salt-free powder? Could it be that Xinhuan lost your salt-free powder? And then it was taken away by the spirit bees as pollen? Everyone felt that what Lu Shi said made sense. Perhaps the spirit bees really had treated the salt-free powder as pollen and stained their claws. Then after being soaked in dew, they smeared it on Fan Sushue and Yi Bingying's faces. Yi Xinhuan used her spiritual sense to check the storage ring. She did not lose it. She was suddenly shocked. She stared at Lu Shi viciously. Sister-in-law, back then I gave you a bag of salt-free powder. Could it be that you lost the rest of the salt-free powder? Then the spirit bees treated it as pollen? Lu Shi could not care less about the fact that the matter had been exposed. She hurriedly denied, back then I gave the entire bag of medicinal powder to Kai Dai. She told me that she had already gotten someone to put it into the medicinal soup. There was not a single bit left. Then what about the paper that was wrapped with the medicinal powder? Yi Xinhuan pressed. I didn't ask about this in detail. Kai Dai is outside. Let her come in and ask. Lu Shi's heart was beating fast. Could it be that the paper wrapped with the medicinal powder wasn't properly handled and the spiritual bee had been used as pollen? If that was the case, not only would she harm her own daughter, the Fan family would probably not spare her. Yi Zhihui might even divorce her. The more Lu Shi thought about it, the more frightened she became. Her body could not help but tremble. Not long after Kai Dai was brought in. Lu Shi gritted her teeth and asked, Kai Dai, let me ask you. Did you ask someone to put all the medicinal powder I gave you into the medicinal soup? Is there any left? Kai Dai knelt on the ground and said, yes, all of it was put into the medicinal soup. I watched Granny Ding put it in. There wasn't any left. Yi Xinhuan pushed Lu Shi away and stared at Kai Dai. What about the paper wrapped in the medicinal powder? Burn it. Kai Dai said while trembling. She knew that if the master was fine she probably wouldn't survive. However, Yi Xinhuan saw her trembling and decided that she was lying. She was guilty. Nonsense. Did you just throw away that paper? Speak. You lowly servant. Yi Xinhuan kicked Kai Dai. Kai Dai spat out a mouthful of blood. Although she did not know what exactly happened, she knew that no matter what, she would not be able to escape death when she saw Fan Sushue and Yi Bingying's miserable state. She looked at Lu Shi for help. When she saw Lu Shi's eyes, her heart sank to the bottom. Lu Shi's eyes were very obvious. asking her to commit suicide to prove her innocence. Kai Dai felt bitter in her heart. If she had known it would be like this, she would have found a catalyst to not go on that mission. It was too late to say anything now. It seemed that good and evil would eventually be repaid. This was her retribution. When Kai Dai thought of this, she smiled bitterly. And I really burned that piece of paper. Since you don't believe me, then I can only prove my innocence by dying. Saying this, Kai Dai killed herself with the hairpin on her head. Chapter 24-28 Antidote. In fact, when Kai Dai pulled out her hairpin and committed suicide, Old Master Yi could have stopped her, but he did not. Because he felt that there must be a scapegoat for this matter. It was best to let this servant take the blame. Seeing Kai Dai die, Yi Xinwan was so angry that she kicked Kai Dai's corpse a few more times. She angrily said to Lu Shi, "Sister-in-law, she is your person, so you can't get away with this matter." Lu Shi's eyes were red as she said, "Xinwan, your words are simply stabbing my heart." Kai Dai had already declared her intention with her death, so that paper must have been burned. Moreover, my Bingying's face was also disfigured. Am I crazy? Even my own daughter was harmed? Fan Sushua stomped her feet and said, "Mother, let's talk about the accounts later. What about my face? I don't want to be disfigured. I don't want to become an ugly monster." Although Yi Bingying wasn't as hysterical as Fan Sushua, she couldn't even stand properly. She leaned on Lu Shi's body and barely managed not to collapse. Yi Xinwan knew that there was no antidote to the salt-free powder. But she still asked Dr. Deng in desperation, "Since you know about the salt-free powder, can you also detoxify it? As long as you can cure Sushua's face, I'll agree to any condition you propose." Fan Sushua added viciously, "If you can't cure my face, I'll kill you. Not only will I kill you, but I'll also kill all of your family members." Dr. Deng's resentment could be imagined. A doctor's heart was like a parent's. When he saw Fan Sushua and Yi Bingying's beautiful faces being ruined, he planned to carefully study Yun Chujia's words. Perhaps he could really develop an antidote to the salt-free powder. He did not expect Fan Sushua to be so vicious. It would be better if such a person died. Old Master Yi shook his head repeatedly. As the direct daughter of a super aristocratic family, Fan Sukshia's upbringing was really too poor. Her personality was the same as her mother's, but he did not know if she was as lucky as her mother. Old Master Yi naturally would not sit idly by. He could only appease Dr. Deng and say, "Dr. Deng, Sukshia's appearance was also destroyed, so her words are somewhat incoherent. You don't have to take it to heart. It's just that a few days ago you told me that you had some progress on the antidote for the salt-free powder. I wonder if there has been any progress." Old Master Yi, researching the antidote is not something that can be done in a day. Moreover, this old man does not have much confidence. After all, the family that has the salt-free powder has not been able to develop the antidote for thousands of years. The Fan family's connections are quite extensive. Why don't we get the Fan family to invite another divine doctor to help young Miss Fan take a look? Perhaps there might be other conclusions, Dr. Deng said in a neither servile nor overbearing manner. He had already thought things through. Life and death depended on fate and wealth. If the Fan family really wanted to make things difficult for him, there was nothing he could do. Moreover, the Fan family might not really do anything to him just because of a young miss whose appearance had been ruined. The super aristocratic families still cherished their feathers. Most importantly, he did not think that the Fan family would kill him because they still needed him to develop the antidote for the salt-free powder. Yi Xinwan was about to say something when Old Master Yi glared at her. He said to Dr. Deng, "Dr. Deng, what you said makes sense. We will immediately send a message to the Fan family and ask them to think of a way. However, since you already have a lead on the antidote for the salt-free powder, then the greatest hope is still on you. If there's anything you need, feel free to ask. As long as the Yi family can do it, we'll do our best." Chapter 24-29 Disappointment. Dr. Deng saw how courteous Old Master Yi was. He could only nod and say, "Old Master Yi is too courteous. This old man is a doctor, so I naturally have to do my best to treat the patient. When this old man returns, I will do my best to develop an antidote for the salt-free powder." Old Master Yi nodded and asked housekeeper Fu to send Dr. Deng back. He also gave him a generous consultation fee. Old Master Yi glanced at the few people in the room and sighed in disappointment. There was no need to mention Yi Xinhuan and her mother. The one who disappointed and pained him the most was Yi Bingying. He originally thought that she was the hope of this generation of the Yi family, but he did not expect her heart to be so vicious. He did not object to competition between his peers. Even if he used some small tricks, he did not care. After all, the fittest survived. Only competition could choose the strongest. However, Yi Bingying was not competing or suppressing. She was taking someone's life. Even if such a person really had a future, she would not consider the interests of the family. She would even sacrifice the interests of the family to pave the way for herself. Old Master Yi's gaze seemed to have substance. The oppression made everyone in the room tremble in fear. Even the most arrogant Fan Sushue was a little afraid to speak. Xinhuan, what do you plan to tell the Fan family about today's matter? Old Master Yi stared at Yi Xinhuan and asked. Yi Xinhuan was a little muddled by the question. Grandfather, what else can I say? Naturally, you'll tell the truth. I still want my husband to help search for the godly doctor. Old Master Yi slammed the table. Extremely muddle-headed. The Fan family is currently in a terrible state. What do you think will happen after you tell these terrible things? If things go wrong, even Mingchuan will be implicated by you. Furthermore, why do you have salt-free powder? Is it used in the past to do some shady and private things? If you tell them, what will Fan Jichuan think? Yi Xinwen's face turned pale. She did not really care about what Old Master Yi said earlier, but the latter sentence, that's right. If this matter was told to Fan Jichuan, he might find an excuse to divorce her. Fan Sushue said unhappily at the side. Then what should I do? Don't tell the Fan family that my face is disfigured? There is no antidote for salt-free powder. Do you think it will be useful even if you tell the Fan family? Old Master Yi was extremely displeased with Fan Sushue. If it weren't for this troublemaker, little Nine and Bingying wouldn't have been disfigured. Yi Xinhuan was completely flustered. Grandfather, then what should we do? You must save my Sushue. If her face is ruined, her life will be over. Old Master Yi snorted coldly. If Suksha's face is ruined, her life will be over. Why didn't you think of this when you secretly harmed little Nine? Yi Xinhuan wanted to argue a bit, but now she had to beg Old Master Yi, so she could only endure it. How about this, Xinhuan? You secretly inform Mingchuan about this matter and let him think of a way to help you find a famous doctor. I will also send people to keep an eye on Dr. Deng's side. Since he already has a clue about the antidote, perhaps he will really develop it, Old Master Yi said. Yi Xinhuan nodded repeatedly. Old Master Yi was right. It would be good to secretly tell Mingchuan about this matter. He handled things steadily and would definitely have a way. Great-grandfather Yi sighed and left with a flick of his sleeve. The atmosphere in the room instantly froze. Yi Xinhuan looked at Lu Shi viciously. Sister-in-law, if Su Shue's face can be cured, I'll pretend that this matter never happened. If her face can't be cured, I won't be done with you. Not only you, the Lu family can forget about it. Chapter 24:30. The imp turned into the devil. Yi Bingying couldn't take it anymore. And how can you blame my mother for this? If it wasn't for Su Shue's suggestion to harm Yun Chujie, would this have happened? If you want to blame someone, blame Su Shue. You bitch, you actually have the nerve to blame me. If it wasn't for you telling me how good-looking that bitch was, would I have proposed to disfigure her? If you hadn't insisted on dragging me to the back garden, would I have been harmed by those spirit bees? You bitch, I'll kill you right now. Fan Sushue pounced on Yi Bingying ferociously. Yi Bingying didn't care about anything else at the moment. She immediately started fighting with Fan Sushue. Yi Xinhuan and Lu Shi quickly stopped the fight, but the two of them were petty. In the end, the two of them also started fighting. Although the servants outside heard the movements in the room, no one went in to stop the fight. They were not stupid. If they went in, they would only be blamed. They might even be hurt by accident. Especially the servants in the guest house. They were extremely dissatisfied with Yi Xinhuan. They beat them to death without asking any questions. They would only go in to stop the fight unless they were stupid. In the end, it was only after Gushi arrived that both sides stopped fighting. Although Ji Shi had wanted to come over long ago, she knew that Old Master Yi was here, so she did not dare to come over. When she heard that Old Master Yi had left, she rushed over. Gu Shi scolded Lu Shi and Yi Xinwan and comforted them a few more words before this farce came to an end temporarily. What everyone did not know was that there was a bystander on the roof of Xiaohua Garden who was watching the show with great interest. Xiaohua Garden and the guest house were not too far away from each other. In addition, it was late at night and the commotion in the guest house was so loud that even though they couldn't hear it clearly, they could still roughly hear it. Yun Chujio snickered as she chewed on the spirit fruit. A dog biting a dog in a mouthful of fur. Did she want to disfigure her little fairy Jio? Did she get her retribution now? She couldn't count on the heavens for this retribution. Only by doing it herself would she have enough food and clothing. Only by doing it herself would she be satisfied. The 6 servants of Xiaohua Garden stood in the courtyard, looking at a certain Jio on the roof in a daze. When they heard the commotion from the guest house, for some reason they felt that the commotion there had something to do with the devil on the roof. However, this devil had never left Xiaohua Garden. How could it be her? It must be an illusion. Yes, an illusion. The 6 servants recalled Yun Chujio saying that she was the favored child of Tiandao. They thought about it carefully and realized that it was true. The Yi mother and daughter wanted to harm her, but the little demon was completely fine. However, they themselves suffered retribution. Didn't this prove that the little demon was really the favored child of Tiandao? After the 6 servants figured this out, they no longer dared to betray Yun Chujio. They already had a consensus in their hearts, and that was that whoever went against the little demon would be courting death. Yun Chujio saw that there was nothing more to see over there, so she jumped off the roof. This guy glanced at the 6 servants and said with a smile that was not a smile, "Dog against dog, isn't it fun? Tell me, why do I suddenly think of that wind-blade rabbit?" The 6 servants could not help but shiver. Before they could say anything, Yun Chujio had already entered the house. The 6 of them looked at each other. Could it really be her? How was this possible? How did she do it? The 6 of them felt a chill on their backs. In their hearts, Yun Chujio had turned from a little devil to a big devil. Now, even if someone were to put a knife to their necks, they would not dare to have any bad thoughts towards Yun Chujio. Chapter 24:31 Sweet jujubes are so sweet. Yun Chujio had a good night's sleep, but many people in the Yi family could not fall asleep. The one who was most anxious was the old Master Yi. After he returned, he repeatedly thought about today's matter and felt that it was really unbelievable. Could it really be that there was something wrong with the piece of paper that wrapped up the salt-free powder? He had to prepare for the worst. If Fan Sukshi's face could not be cured completely, what would the Fan family do? Since the root of the matter was Yi Xinwan, the Fan family would not really do anything to the Yi family. However, it was inevitable that Yi Xinwan would fall out of favor. Fortunately, Fan Mingchuan was highly regarded by the head of the Fan family. Otherwise, they would really lose the whole game. Originally, he had planned to let Yi Bingying apply for the Hunyuan sect. Now it seemed that it was also a failure. Little Nine, who was originally the favorite of Tiandao, also had a bleak future. Could it be that the Yi family was finished just like that? Although the remaining Yi Wenhong was a qualified successor, regardless of whether it was in terms of talent or skill, he was not outstanding enough. It was already not bad if he could hold on to his achievements. Yi Binji's talent was also average and could not be counted on at all. Old Master Yi lay on the bed with his clothes closed. He repeatedly recalled the recent events and suddenly sat up. He felt that something was not right. What exactly was wrong? Little Jio. According to that little girl's character, if she was really disfigured by Xinwan and the others, why would she be so quiet? She was fearless. If she was really disfigured, she would definitely drag Xinwan and the others down with her. How could she be so quiet in Xiaohua Garden? The more old Master Yi thought about it, the more suspicious he felt. When he recalled Dr. Deng's words and attitude, he felt that there was something wrong. Old Master Yi endured until dawn with great difficulty. He immediately brought housekeeper food to Xiaohua Garden. At this moment, Yun Chujio was still sound asleep. This fellow was in a dream. Cough cough. He had bullied Di Biming for a long time and was enjoying himself immensely. Therefore, this fellow was awakened by the knocking on the door. He was filled with anger and roared angrily, "What are you knocking on? What are you doing here so early in the morning?" Housekeeper Fu, who was outside the courtyard door, shrunk his neck. This young miss was so angry when she woke up. However, it was probably because her face was disfigured that she was so angry. Old Master Yi took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, Little ninth girl, it's me. Yun Chujio was stunned. Old fox. Could it be that he found something suspicious? However, it was also true. So many days had passed. In addition to last night's incident, if he still didn't find out, he wouldn't be worthy of being the head of the Yi family. Thinking of this, Yun Chujio said in a crisp voice, "So it's great-grandfather. Please wait a moment, I haven't woken up yet." The corner of housekeeper Fuss' eyes twitched violently outside the door. His attitude had changed so quickly. However, the only one who could say that she had not woken up so confidently was probably the weirdo Miss Cousin. After Yun Chujio left the house, the 6 servants were already waiting at the door, trembling in fear. Yun Chujio glanced at them and said in a low voice, "Don't worry, I'm here for you. Everything will be fine." The 6 servants were so touched that they almost cried. The sweet date that they gave after the slap was so sweet that it almost touched their hearts. Ruby sobbed, they were so touched. It turned out that the little devil had a kind side to her. She actually comforted them and even said that she was there for everything. It was simply too heartwarming, wasn't it? After Yun Chujio removed the door latch, she suddenly took a dozen steps back and said faintly, "Great-grandfather, if there's anything you want to say, you should just stand there and say it. Little Jiao is really afraid of infecting you. Sai, I can't help it. The world is so realistic. Ever since I got sick, my Xiaohua garden has been so cold that I don't even dare to let the wind in. I'm afraid of infecting." Chapter 2432 was the explanation. When Old Master Yi heard Yun Chujio's words, his old face turned red. How could he not know that Yun Chujio was complaining about him? Housekeeper Fu quickly explained, "Young miss, Old Master has been really busy recently. In fact, Old Master has been sending servants to secretly pay attention to the situation in Xiaohua Garden." Yun Chujio stopped when she saw the good news. She said with a faint smile, "Housekeeper Fu, I don't mean anything else. I'm really just afraid of infecting my great-grandfather. After all, if I were to be infected with this disease, my face would be disfigured." Old Master Yi glared at Yun Chujio. "You little girl, don't talk nonsense with me. Dr. Deng has already told me that you were infected with salt-free powder, not some infectious disease." Yun Chujio looked at Housekeeper Fu and said with a smile, "Housekeeper Fu, please help to keep an eye out for me. I think great-grandfather wants to talk to me about something good." The corner of Housekeeper Fu's mouth twitched. "Don't worry, Miss Cousin. There are already guards around Xiaohua Garden. There won't be any random people coming near." Yun Chujio sneered in her heart. Now they knew to send guards to guard? Where were they when Yi Xinwan poisoned them? Humans could only rely on themselves. Old Master Yi did not enter the house. He directly sat down on the stone bench in the courtyard. After the 6 servants saluted, they stood far away, afraid that Old Master Yi would see that they were not poisoned. Old Master Yi naturally would not pay attention to these servants. He stared into Yun Chujio's eyes and said, "Little Ju, take off your veil. We'll take a look at your injuries." Yun Chujio knew that even if she did not want to take it off, Old Master Yi would force her to take off her veil, so she generously took off her veil. Housekeeper Fu, who was standing at the side, was still unable to bear with it. This girl loved her looks the most. Her cousin's looks were ruined, and Old Master Yi even asked her to take off the veil. It was estimated that this cousin would cry loudly in a while. However, when Housekeeper Fu saw Yun Chujio take off the veil, his mouth immediately grew wide. Heavens, how could her face be undamaged? Wasn't she poisoned? Wasn't her face disfigured? Old Master Yi was still relatively calm because he already had a guess in his heart. He sighed and said, "Little Jiao, don't you have anything to explain?" Yun Chujio took out a large basin from her storage ring. She pointed at the wind-blade rabbit's corpse, which had been corroded until only its bones were left, and said, "Great-grandfather, this is the explanation." Yun Chujio's eyes reddened after she finished speaking, and a look of grief and indignation appeared on her face. Great-grandfather, yes. Old face reddened once again after being rebuked. That's right, what did he ask just now? What did he mean by an explanation? Could it be that he wanted to see Yun Chujio disfigured? Little Jiao, great-grandfather didn't mean that. I just feel that it's a little strange. What on earth is going on? The little bit of guilt in great-grandfather Yes' heart was instantly magnified countless times by Yoon Chuji's ruckus. He felt that he was simply an unpardonable person. Great-grandfather, you should already know what on earth is going on, right? I also don't know who in this ye residence wants to harm me, to actually put salt-free powder in the medicinal soup. If it wasn't for my cleverness, I'm afraid I would have really become a salt-free woman. What do you think I can do? Don't tell me that I can go to you and shout that someone wants to harm me. Would you believe me? Then I had to pretend that I was poisoned so that at least the people behind the scenes wouldn't try to harm me again. I did it to protect myself because I'm stupid and weak. Chapter 2433 was retribution. Whether it was the 6 servants or housekeeper Fu, they all had an expression of fucking shit. Can't you fucking pretend to be dead? Let's not talk about whether you're weak or not. Are you stupid? If you're stupid, there won't be any smart people in this world. Aren't you afraid of being struck by lightning if you say something that goes against your heart? The corners of old Master Yes' eyes twitched. He had yet to speak. He heard Yoon Chujio continue, "Great-grandfather, who is it that wants to harm me? Hurry up and tell me. Otherwise, I won't be able to eat or sleep well all day long. I'm going to be scared to death." Housekeeper Fu stole a glance at Yoon Chujio's rosy face. It seemed that the matter of lying and being struck by lightning was not very accurate. Otherwise, why didn't this person get struck by lightning for lying so many times? Old Master Yi did not hide anything and told her what he knew. Then he stared at Yoon Chujio's expression and asked, "Little Jio, how do you think that Su Shuer and Bingying girl were also struck by the salt-free powder?" The corners of Yoon Chujio's lips curled up. "Great-grandfather, have you heard of these few words? Good and evil will always be rewarded. The heavenly Tao is good for reincarnation. If you don't believe me, look up who will the heavens spare. They have suffered retribution. I am the favored child of the Tian Tao. They harmed me, so they will naturally suffer retribution." Old Master Yi was almost suffocated by the rebuke, but he could not say anything. He could only take a deep breath and ask, "You didn't do this?" Yoon Chujio's face was full of shock and innocence. "Great-grandfather, I have never left Xiaohua Garden. Besides, how could I possibly poison them with my weak kung fu? Could they have poisoned themselves and then framed me? This is too shameless." The people in the courtyard were speechless. They knew that there was no antidote to the salt-free powder, but Fan Sushue and Yi Bingying still poisoned themselves. Were their brains fried? Old Master Yi felt that he shouldn't have come today. It was purely because he was causing trouble for himself. This little girl's words could choke people to death. "Great-grandfather, I wonder what aunt and great-aunt guessed was the cause of the poisoning?" The reason why Yoon Chujio asked this was because she wanted to probe the bottom line. If they did not find the spirit bees, then she could do the same thing again in the future. If they found it, then forget it. They speculated that the paper wrapped in salt-free powder was blown into the backyard by the wind, and then the spirit bees treated the salt-free powder as pollen. After they got it on their claws, it was stained with dew. Then it was an extremely coincidental coincidence that the dew got onto Bingying and Su Shue's faces. Old Master Yi felt that this was too much of a coincidence. However, other than this explanation, there did not seem to be any other explanation. No matter how capable little Jio was, it was impossible for her to command the spirit bees. Moreover, she did not have the salt-free powder. Oh my god. It's actually such a coincidence. Qu'est-ce such a coincidental thing can happen. Looks like they really suffered retribution. Yoon Chujio said gloatingly. She was secretly happy in her heart. These people were quite good at imagining things. Although Old Master Yi felt that Yoon Chujio's gloating look was a little annoying, he could not say anything. After all, Yi Xinwan and the others had harmed others first. Old Master Yi coughed. Only then did Yoon Chujio restrain herself. Otherwise she would be dancing with joy. "Little Jio girl, how do you plan to end this? If your aunt finds out that you are not disfigured, I'm afraid she will not let this matter rest." Old Master Yi felt that Yoon Chujio definitely had a backup plan. Yoon Chujio blinked her eyes. "Isn't there still you? Will you just watch as my aunt strangles me to death?" Old Master Yi couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed and angry. Although he was a little guilty, being ridiculed by a junior over and over again made his old face feel a little embarrassed. Chapter 2434. She was not sick. Just as old Master Yi was about to flare up, he heard Yun Chujio say, "Sai, I also know that you're in trouble. After all, you're the head of the Yi family. There are many things that you can't help. I understand all of them. Actually, I feel that Dr. Deng might be able to develop an antidote for salt-free powder. What if he can't develop it? Then I can only wear a veil and hide far away from him in the future. When that time comes, I'll enter a super sect like the primordial chaos sect. No matter how long the Fan family's hands are, they can't do anything to me." Even though old Master Yi's anger had dissipated a little, he still said unhappily, "Is the primordial chaos sect something that you can enter just because you want to? Even though your breakthrough speed isn't bad, the 6th level of the spiritual profound is still too weak. Bingying is at the 3rd level of the spiritual void tier, and she can only barely enter the outer sect. Everything depends on man. Who knows, she might accidentally enter. Besides, perhaps Dr. Deng will be able to develop an antidote for the salt-free powder. At that time, won't everyone be happy?" Yun Chujio said indifferently. Old Master Yi felt his head buzzing. He felt that if he continued to tangle with this little girl, he would definitely be angered to the point of vomiting blood. However, he could not find any fault with her. Yun Chujio obviously knew that old Master Yi was being scolded badly. However, she was never a steamed bun who swallowed her anger. Could it be that she was poisoned by someone and was still grateful? She was not sick. Great-grandfather Yi saw that he could not get anything out of her, so he could only say, "You stay in Xiaohua Garden obediently. I will send someone to guard the courtyard to prevent others from coming in so that you won't be exposed." "Thank you, great-grandfather. Don't worry, a good person will have his blessings. Dr. Deng will definitely develop a salt-free antidote," Yun Chujio said with a smile. Great-grandfather Yi gave a perfunctory reply and left with housekeeper Fu. Not long after old Master Yi left, Dr. Deng arrived. Dr. Deng was about to speak when Yun Chujio said with a smile, "Old miracle doctor, let's go to the spirit peach forest over there and talk. It's quieter there." Dr. Deng understood that he was afraid that the walls would have ears, so he nodded and the two of them arrived at the spirit peach forest. Dr. Deng then said, "Miss Yun, do you know that Miss Fan and Miss Yi were both poisoned by salt-free powder?" Yun Chujio nodded. "I heard from great-grandfather. Old Master Yi also knows that you weren't disfigured?" Dr. Deng asked in surprise. Yun Chujio curled the corners of her lips. "Well, it was only a matter of time, so I told him." Tiske old miracle doctor, do you think this is karma? They wanted to poison me. I'm fine, but they were poisoned themselves. How interesting. Dr. Deng felt that Yun Chujio's words had a hidden meaning, but he couldn't figure out what it meant. He remembered the meaning and quickly took out a wooden box from his storage ring. "Miss Yun, the spirit herbs in this are too valuable. You should take it back. We'll take the other wooden box." Dr. Deng had also unintentionally opened the wooden box that Yun Chujio had given him last night. He opened one of the boxes and saw that there were a few earth-grade and mystic-grade spirit herbs in it, so he didn't pay too much attention to it. But when he opened the other box, he was stunned. Inside was actually a low-grade heaven-grade purple dragon vine. This was too valuable. That was why Dr. Deng had rushed over so early in the morning. Seeing that Dr. Deng insisted on returning it, Yun Chujio didn't say much. She saw that the wooden box was kept. After all, the formula for the salt-free powder was much more valuable than this spirit herb. Yun Chujio was very shrewd. Seeing that Dr. Deng was a little angry, she quickly comforted him. Dr. Deng was now on the boat of thieves. Even if he was a little dissatisfied, he could only accept it. "Now can you tell me what you think?" Dr. Deng said unhappily. Although most spirit herbs are different from the secular world's herbs that need to be processed before they can be used as medicine, there are very few that need to be processed before they can be used. Could the purple blood forsythia be one of them? Dr. Deng was stunned for a moment before he slapped his thigh. "What you said makes sense. Why didn't I think of that? We'll go back and give it a try." When Dr. Deng turned around and was about to leave, Yun Chujio said softly, "Old miracle doctor, the wooden box that I gave you was not given to you casually." Dr. Deng turned around and asked again, but Yun Chujio only smiled and did not say anything. Dr. Deng was so angry that he directly flung his sleeves and left. Yun Chuju looked at Dr. Deng's back and couldn't help but laugh. It was more interesting to leave some suspense. If she told him everything, he wouldn't have any sense of accomplishment. Yun Chuju jumped onto the hammock. Just as she was about to take out her notebook to read for a while, she felt the voice transmission talisman in her storage ring tremble. Di Baiming grunted and said in a low voice, "I was delayed on the way." Yun Chujio was filled with the joy of meeting Di Baiming. She did not notice Di Baiming's grunt. She pouted and said, "Prince Charming, why did you come to see me all of a sudden this time? Do you want me to be heartbroken and unable to extricate myself?" Di Baiming did not say anything because he used his actions to express how much he missed her. After the passionate kiss, Yun Chujio pounded on Di Baiming's chest. She said coquettishly, You pervert. When I first saw you, I knew that you were a coquettish person. On the surface you looked very stoic and cold, but in reality you are a big pervert." Hiss. Di Baiming could not help but moan. Only then did Yun Chujio realize that something was wrong. With the help of the moonlight, she saw that there were red blood stains on Di Baiming's white clothes. "You're injured. You idiot. Why didn't you tell me you were injured?" Yun Chujio felt both sorry and guilty. If she knew that he was injured, she would not have tormented him so much. Chapter 2437. She felt that she was very shameless. Di Baiming touched her hair. "It's alright, it's just a small injury." Yun Chujio glared at him. "Stop talking nonsense, lie on the bed for me." Di Baiming's ears turned red. He mumbled, "Little Jiu, although my body is fine, but Guai Chao." Seeing this, Yun Chujio directly pushed Di Baiming onto the bed and then started to undress him. Di Baiming was conflicted. On one hand, he felt that it was not a good time. After all, Yun Chujio had not come to Kueishui yet. On the other hand, he was looking forward to it. Even if they could not really have sex, cough cough. It was good to have a good time. When Di Baiming's mind was filled with thoughts, he heard Yun Chujio scolding him with a sobbing voice. "Are you a pig? Such a big wound. Don't you know how to apply medicine to bandage it?" After Yun Chujio removed Di Baiming's clothes, she saw that his chest was filled with wounds of all sizes. One of them was more than 3 inches long and was oozing blood. Only then did Di Baiming realize that his thoughts were wrong. He couldn't help but say awkwardly, "It's nothing. I'm already used to it. This is considered light." When Yun Chujio heard Di Baiming's words, she immediately cried even harder. Used to it? This was considered light. One could imagine how dangerous Di Baiming was usually. Only then did Di Baiming realize that he had let the cat out of the bag. He did not know how to comfort people. He just kept saying, "It's okay. My constitution is special. I will recover very quickly. Don't worry." Yun Chujio glared at him. She took out a pill to stop the bleeding and fed him 2 pills. She sprinkled them on the wound and helped him bandage it. This guy deliberately tied a bow on the white cloth. The corner of Di Baiming's eyes twitched, but he didn't say anything. Anyway, he was still wearing clothes outside so no one could see him. "Prince Charming, I see that your wounds are not caused by spiritual attacks. Seems that there are claws of demonic beast. Your enemies are not only humans but also demonic beasts?" Yun Chujio asked in confusion. "Little Jiu, if the enemy I'm facing is not too strong, how could I bear to let you stay here alone? If I bring you with me, I really can't protect your safety." Di Baiming said seriously. Although he knew that Yun Chujio was an independent girl, he was afraid that she would hold a grudge against him. Yun Chujio smiled. "Prince Charming, I understand. Isn't there a saying? If the two of us were in love for a long time, we wouldn't be together day and night. The reason why we are separated now is to be together for a better and longer time. Besides, distance makes the heart grow fonder. The feeling of us having an affair is quite exciting." When Di Baiming heard the first few sentences, his face was full of relief. However, when he heard the last few sentences, the relief on his face turned into confusion. A certain Jiu was still beaming with joy as she said, "Prince Charming, do you also feel that it's quite exciting? Every time you come, you are always sneaking around. Don't you look like the poor scholar who secretly meets the young ladies of the big families in the storybook?" Di Biming looked at her speechlessly. Have you not been cultivating properly recently? Have you been sneaking around reading the storybook again? A certain Jiao immediately wished she could take back everything she had said just now. She stammered, I've been trapped in Xiaohua Garden for the past few days and watched it a few times. I promise it's really just a few times. I just broke through in the previous stage, so I don't dare to cultivate too fast. The more she spoke, the quieter her voice became. The reason was naturally because she felt guilty, especially when she caught a glimpse of the bow on Di Biming's chest. She felt that slacking off was an unpardonable and shameless act. You're tuning in to the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.